Once again, this is not a ride sharing video. I repeat, this is not a ride sharing video. Now, the entire gist of this program is going to be about just simply the sheer, as you see on the monitor, I'm trying to put on the monitor behind me, but in regards to President Trump, more indictments are seeming to equate to more support. So we're going to be asking the obvious question, which is why is the growing number of indictments on President Trump actually equating to more support for President Trump? I'm willing to play ignorant on the topic because as someone who tends to lean left, I truly do not understand it. But that is where I would hope that the audience could perhaps enlighten me, perhaps educate me on how more indictments for the former president, number 45, is indeed equating to more support. There's no denying, regardless of how you feel about President Trump, there's no denying that his support, at the very least, is getting stronger and stronger with each charge, with each indictment. But if we're going to suggest, as law-abiding citizens, that we believe you should indeed obey the law, how is it that someone who is being constantly and consistently accused of disobeying the law becoming a fan favorite with those who would suggest that they are law-abiding? This is what I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get someone to explain it to a layman, a liberal, someone like myself who many might suggest is outright ignorant of this. I am willing to admit there certainly is some ignorance on the part of yours truly because I don't understand it. But I want you folks to let me know how you see this. More charges equaling more support. The more President Trump is charged with crimes, the more his support is growing. That's what I'm hearing. As always, this is indeed a MAGA-friendly program. We do not block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. MAGA are my preferred guests. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. You do not have to agree with the host on the program. I'm going to start out right away by going straight to the box. We're asking a question. More charges equals more support. Can someone explain to me how that works? We'll start out with the new guy, 21. Now, am I getting this wrong, new guy? More charges equaling more support. Good afternoon.
Well, this is just my opinion, but I think a lot of Americans see what these charges are.
Okay, hang on. You're exceptionally low over here. I cannot even hear you. Hang on. Let me. Okay.
Is that any better?
Not really. Let me skip. Can you hear me at all?
Oh, I can hear you fine.
Okay, let me what I'm gonna have to end up what I'm gonna have to do on this side is drop and restart in like 5 seconds here, because I just can't hear you at all. I mean it's just that low. Let's try it again. Okay, and for you folks on YouTube, just bear with me momentarily. I don't know what the hell happened, but we'll figure it out here. All right, let's start it up again. Okay, so that's what we're trying to find out. I'll see if the folks come right back. Unfortunate, there were like 400 plus people in there, but we'll see what happens once we start it back up. And YouTube, appreciate you folks tuning in. I will try to get to your messages as you post them. Very simple. Unlike popular beliefs, majority of Americans are not ignorant, so they realize injustice. Edmund. So that would lead to the obvious question. Are you suggesting that 100% of the charges against President Trump are false? Is it a case of the charges being posed against Trump being false? Or is it possible he actually did do some of this and folks just don't care? Or maybe you feel like he's being charged where others were not. In other words, maybe Hillary Clinton or Mike Pence or Obama or Biden did the same thing and did not face any charge. Something is leading folks to suggest that when it comes to President Trump, more indictments is leading to more support. That's what we're trying to get to the bottom of. Let me try it with new guy once again. Hopefully we got better audio this time. I don't know what the hell was going on last time. Okay, can you hear me? Yeah, I don't know why is it doing this on it's on my side, I'm assuming, because but it's doing this as opposed to you coming out of the damn device, you're coming out of the earpiece, and I can't figure out how the hell to stop that. Let me see here. Yeah, and I mean, there's no way I'm gonna be able to hear you with it doing that. Let me see if I can. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's a little bit better. Well, the host and the guest is coming through fine. Yeah, I can hear him, but slightly. That's what I said. For some reason, he's coming out of the earpiece on the smartphone as opposed to the speaker. And that's what's making it's on my side. So let's see if we can try it out. So more charges equaling more support. How does that work?
Well, I think this is just my opinion, but I think a lot of Americans are fed up with the Biden administration and look at it like it's election interference, but they're disguising it as they're going after him for crimes.
Okay, so you're suggesting that folks who are supporting Trump believe that his indictments are being orchestrated by the Biden administration?
Yeah, I think that, well, I can tell you for a fact that there's a lot of individuals on TikTok that are running around saying that he's guilty of all these indictments. But the thing is, though, is people actually believe that, but that's the problem is the prosecutors have to prove that their claims are real.
Yeah, I'm fine with the part about he should have his day in court and they should present proof. What confuses me is that folks are suggesting that President Biden is orchestrating this. What's giving them that belief that Biden is behind it? Is there any, because like you said, we want to see proof. In regards to proving that Biden is guilty of what folks are suggesting, that he's trying to go after his opponent, what is the proof behind that?
Well, I don't think Biden has the capacity to go after anybody, in my humble opinion. But I think people in his administration, the ones that are actually running the show behind the scenes, we'll just call them the caretakers, are the ones that can see the writing on the wall. Joe Biden has no business getting 4 more years. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm fine with, because there's a hell of a lot of liberals that are not big fans of Biden either, but in regards to suggesting that he has some type of caretaker that's behind the scene, and that caretaker is indeed going after President Trump, where is the proof of that?
I think it's the proof in the fact that he said he's going to run for re-election, and they're trying to throw anything and everything they can at him so he doesn't get in the White House ever again.
Yeah, but I'm asking for, you're saying just simply because Biden is running for re-election, that means they're going after Trump. Like I said, where's the proof? If that's the case, why aren't they going after all the other candidates that are running?
No, I'm talking about they're going after Trump for re-election, like Trump wants to be president again, right? So I call that running for re-election.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he legitimately is running for re-election. You and I agree on that, but I'm saying where is the proof that someone behind the Biden administration is trying to prosecute him?
Every person that has a charge against them, don't you seem like kind of convenient that they said that that's what they were going to do if they won? Like the prosecutor in Georgia, that was her whole main platform, that if she got to be a lead prosecutor, she was going to go after Trump. Same with the individual in New York. That was their whole platform. I'm going to go after Trump.
So are you suggesting that a prosecutor or a person in power should not announce ahead of time that if they get elected, they're going after somebody?
Well, do you think that it was done because they actually thought they had evidence, or do you think it was political?
Well, it could be both. You could be going after Trump for something political that you actually have evidence on. And keep in mind, President Trump was leading folks to believe that if he got elected, he was going to go after Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, I remember him saying that, and I don't think he should have said that. I mean, I've always said that there are definitely times that he has said something that I do not agree with. Like, there's times where there's things that should be just left unsaid.
Okay. So with Trump constantly talking about Hillary Clinton, do you think that's political?
Well, it definitely got people's attention.
Yeah.
Definitely got people excited, right?
Yeah. So you're saying that what they're doing to Trump is getting people's attention and getting them excited?
Well, I think the fact that he's raised how much money in the month of August, that definitely helped his cause, right? Now you have DeSantis dropping out because they thought it was his time to be president, which.
Well, you said dropping out.
What's that?
You said DeSantis dropping out.
Yeah, I keep seeing these videos all over TikTok and Twitter that DeSantis said he dropped out. I don't know if that's true. I haven't confirmed it.
That's not. I got CNN tuned right behind me in the background. There's no sign of DeSantis dropping out. I'll tell you this, and DeSantis may ultimately drop out as you're talking about, but until I think a lot of these folks are like vultures and salivating on scraps that if Trump dies in regards to the justice system. I think DeSantis is hoping that if the justice system, maybe through the 14th Amendment, stops Trump from running, I think they know going head up against Trump is a losing battle. But I think they are hoping that the justice system or something else prevents Trump from running. So I don't think DeSantis or any of them are going to drop out at least until that point.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, I don't know. I think that if Trump was never going to run for re-election, I don't think these charges would have come up. I just think that they throw enough stuff at him that he financially cannot continue to run, and he's just going to drop out. I think that's what they're hoping. I could be wrong.
Yeah. I don't totally disagree with you. Some of the stuff that they're going after Trump for, I think he would have been charged for regardless. But yeah, I certainly believe that if he had, first of all, if he had conceded to Biden in 2020, some of this stuff he wouldn't have been able to do. So, but I do agree with you that I believe there is some politicization about, behind going after Trump. But that doesn't mean he's innocent. That just means that maybe they're not letting him go with something that they normally would have because, maybe they don't like him or something. Now, I want to read this to you and let you tackle this. This came from a commenter on YouTube. It says, the reality is Biden is not behind the charges of Trump. It's his own fault that he got himself into that. It's crazy to me people don't understand that part of our ex-president will have his day in court. Do you see any of what Trump is dealing with, any of it, as part of his own fault?
I think that, like any president, now or prior, have made mistakes. The thing that I think we're going to all find out here eventually is there's probably something that's going to stick out of these 91 indictments. He's not going to just walk away scot-free. But the thing that I like to remind everybody is, because people are banking on this, they think that they're going to see this gentleman in an orange suit behind bars. Do you really think that's going to happen?
I'm more on the side that Trump is less likely to be, Secret Service, the precedent that sets locking up a former president, dividing the country. I'm not really big on the notion that he's going to end up in jail. However, just like you're talking about, where some folks come across as delusional thinking Trump will actually be in an orange jumpsuit one day, I think to some degree, seeing the man as president again might be to that degree as well on the other side. But I'll let you have it.
Well, I've said this on a couple of my lives. I have not officially given my endorsement to any candidate on the GOP, honestly. I'm still like everyone else. I want to wait and see, because I've also been very advocate about the fact that we need term limits across the board and age limits, because you and I both have seen.
It's been a rough week for Mitch McConnell. Let's just say that. It's been a rough week for Mitch.
I'm 44 years old, and these gentlemen are twice as old as me, and I think, what do they know, or what do they value that I can relate to? I'm sorry.
You can relate to wanting to remain in power.
That's pretty much what it is.
So particularly with Mitch. I know folks are saying that Biden got to Mitch and he's out of it as well, but Mitch McConnell is frozen for 30 seconds on national TV twice. Now, the way we view Biden as being out of his faculties and potentially, suffering from dementia, I think what Mitch McConnell did is even worse. where you're just literally in a gaze, starring in the part 2 of the movie Frozen for 30 straight seconds. So yeah, I really believe Mitch McConnell should step down immediately.
When I saw that, and then later, like the next day, they said that he is clear to go back to work. That was just the side effects from a concussion. You don't have those types of side effects from concussion for that long, and if you do, you're not okay to go back to work.
Yeah, can you imagine a quarterback after suffering a concussion in the middle of a play while he's holding a ball, freezing for 30 seconds?
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, Mitch got a concussion from falling down. Football players get basically run over by a Mack truck.
Right.
Weighs 300 pounds. You know what I mean? So,
right. Yeah, so I don't see it, but what do you now? I got to move it on. But in the comments, somebody's pointing out said they would still vote him back in. Do you think the Republicans of Kentucky would still reelect? Because that's what he was in the process of answering. Was what was his opinion on him running for reelection in 2026 or something like that? And he froze on it. So do you see the potential of Kentucky Republicans reelecting Mitch McConnell?
I hope that them seeing what happened the last 2 times he's gotten up there and froze, he has no business running in 26. It's time for him to retire and go off into the sunset like a lot of other politicians.
Right.
Just for the record, my belief is you can serve 3 terms or 65 years old. Whatever comes first. That's it. It's seriously time to move on. Find something else to do.
So I have to ask, with Mitch McConnell being clearly going through something, whether it's, him suggesting that he felt lightheaded or some kind of concussion, but clearly there's something wrong, and he is even older than President Biden. So I have to ask, why is the outcry from Republicans on Mitch McConnell so much milder than it's been on Biden when Mitch McConnell's symptoms are even more apparent, and he's older?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a medical doctor, so I can't sit there and joke and call Joe Biden that he has dementia. Do I think that he's cognitively declining? Absolutely, because he's old.
Okay.
I'm sorry. That's the honest truth. And the fact that we continue to put individuals in power, in office, to represent us, that again are so outdated and out of touch, I just don't get it. I don't understand it.
Yeah, but I'm wondering why is there, because there's a lot of folks on the right suggesting Biden needs to go because of his mental state. The outcry towards Mitch McConnell on the right is significantly lesser. Why is that?
That's a good question, because I made a video about it when I saw him freeze up. And I said, this is another example of why we need term limits and age limits.
Yeah.
Again, we don't need anybody in power that is over the age of 65. It makes no sense. Most Americans, retire.
You're disqualifying Trump with that statement, right?
I fully understand that. That's why I said earlier, I have not given my endorsement to anybody yet.
Okay. All right, new guy. Appreciate you coming in. Good talk. All right. Now, and that's what we're asking, folks. As you see on the monitor behind me, Trump, the more charges, the more support. Kind of a tribute to the rapper P. Diddy, more money, more problems. Why is it that the more indictments Trump faces, the more it seems that his support grows, at least in the Republican Party? I'm not going to pretend like a bunch of liberals are jumping on the Trump train because they think he's getting railroaded. But among Republicans, there is no denying that his support is growing with the indictments. I want to just simply ask this from a position of ignorance. I don't understand it. Maybe some of you folks can help your boy out. I will go to the box because that's what I want to hear, is what is leading more folks from the Republican Party, which typically touts the phrase the party of law and order. What is it about the law suggesting that Trump has literally violated the law 91 different times, yet they're actually gravitating towards what the enforcement officials are saying is a lawbreaker? A multi lawbreaker, 91 different times, multiple jurisdictions. What's leading the law and order party to get behind someone that law is saying has no order. Going straight to the box will keep it moving with Freedom Knight. Saw you hold it in there. I do appreciate that. Good afternoon. By the way, folks, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 10,000 likes. Helps out the algorithm. Brings in more MAGA. So certainly tap the screen. Trump, what does that say there? I saw that. Trump will be fully exonerated. How many of you folks believe that? 91 charges in various different jurisdictions around the East Coast, including state charges in Georgia, potentially facing something out of Arizona we don't know yet. How many of you believe that he will be exonerated of all 91 charges? That's a hell of a feat. Not saying that he can't win again, not saying that he can't run from jail and all this other shit, but exonerated of 91 charges. How many of you folks believe that? And we need to quit pretending like Trump actually did anything wrong. Tim B on YouTube. There's no way to know. I'm not here to suggest that Trump is 100% guilty, but at this stage in the game, there's no way in hell you can say he's 100% innocent either. You haven't heard what the prosecutors in any of these cases is going to fully present. You haven't heard from snitches. You haven't heard from associates and eyewitness testimony. You haven't heard any of this stuff. There's no way you can step up right now in August or September of 2023 and say the man is 100% innocent. You haven't heard all the evidence unless you show up already biased. Looking in the comments, I don't know what happened with my last guest, but we'll keep it moving. That's what we're trying to find out. More indictments is equating to more support. How does that work? That's what I'm trying to find out. How does that work? All right, A to the J. Because make no mistake about it, most of us, if we were facing a hell of a lot of indictments from multiple jurisdictions, it would not make the support for us grow. So how is that working for President Trump? A to the J. Good afternoon. Are you there? Okay, I don't know what happened there. He came and he dropped. I guess you ain't woke. I don't know what that means. Oh, you talking about my last caller? Let's keep it moving. I don't know what the hell's going on. Barico Dave. For some reason the callers are coming in and they're disappearing out. Looking at the comments, they're all guilty and it's effed up. By the way, Gavin Newsom 2024. He better hurry up and announce. Shit, we only got a little bit over a year remaining. Bariqua, good afternoon.
My man.
What's going on, man?
Good afternoon.
Not much.
Afternoon.
So,
Good afternoon to everybody here.
more charges are equating to more support. Can you explain that?
Well, we gotta look at it. The American people, this is my opinion, some people are noticing the BS.
Elaborate.
Realizing
What do you mean by BS?
the BS, the bureaucracy, the stuff that's going on, and social media is helping a lot with that. For example, we have Trump with 91 charges. Okay? Are all of them gonna stick? No. One or two, maybe 3 or 4, we don't know. But he's not gonna do no time.
So wait, you said one or two out of 91 charges. Out of 91 charges, you think only 1 or 2?
No, I don't mean that literally. I'm just saying a few is gonna stick. I'm not saying 1 or 2, like figuratively speaking, 1 or the number 2. There's few that's gonna probably stick. Okay? Now, but the bottom line is, it's like nobody can question. Like, if you remember back then, when George Bush, his brother, ran in Florida, started questioning the votes. And he wanted a recount. So it's getting, see now that if you're questioning the votes, you can't do that. You can't say, hey, listen, I was leading at one point, and now I lost. I want a recount. So it's basically our own founding fathers said that we should be able to trust the system, but the system cannot be corrupt. There's checks and balances for a reason. Now the powers to be are taking over.
Wait a minute, hold on. Did he not get a recounting? Now Georgia is claiming they gave him 3 separate recounts. Are they lying?
I don't know. All I know is what CNN says, then what Fox says. Let's wait till the court till the facts come out.
Okay.
Because we could reverberate what CNN says, or whatever, or Fox say. Okay. When the courts, the only good thing is that here in Fulton County, here in Georgia, where I live at, they say that it's going to be broadcast on TV.
Yes, it will be.
We all will be able to watch and see it. Now, usually in a RICO charge, right? When they get you, like when they got the mob, what happens? They usually got a snitch in it.
Yeah.
Okay? And somebody is gonna like when John Gotti, his boy got him and said, well, it was his right hand man. So they need to get somebody in the business that was with Trump.
So let me ask you that. Let me ask you that question. If a real close associate of Trump's stepped forward and said, yeah, he was trying to steal the election, would you dismiss their statement?
Well, I don't know. Was he coerced to do this? Now let's remind ourselves of how corruption works. Okay, we think that the system is fair, but the system only helps out who it want to helps out, and I mean with people with money. Now, could the guy have been in a situation that, hey, we're gonna charge you with these, charges, but if you testify, we're gonna forget about this. Or you got these other charges pending, but if you.
But what? But you.
So it's that quid pro quo.
But you wait, hold on, hang on. You're 100% correct about the quid pro quo and the idea that if you testify, we'll reduce or not we'll reduce your time or not charge you at all. But I have to ask you this: if we take that in consideration, we would have to let half of the people in prison out. How many people currently are serving time based on exactly what you just stated? A snitch testified in gaining some type of benefit to themselves, either a lower sentence or having their charges reduced. People get convicted of that every day.
Yeah, the numbers should be made about how many people are in jail right now that are really innocent. I mean, it could go either way,
Then why weren't we complaining about this before it happened to Trump? We were fine with the system doing exactly what you said until now it's happening to Trump, and all of a sudden now it's a problem?
No. He wasn't happy.
Why didn't he do something about it?
Huge account of his voters were not happy. Matter of fact, isn't there a Netflix thing called 21 Mules? And it talks about how they brought in all these ballot votes, okay, mailed-in votes, and it's like, for example, what's going on now? Okay, they talking about the pandemic might be coming back. It sounds so convenient when now, if they do that, you got to pull in mail-in ballots. So who does that help? Is there a checks and balance on that system?
Well, in regards to I seen the movie, the 2000 Mules movie. I'll tell you right off the bat.
Yeah.
The problem I have with 2000 Mules is that although they seen what looked like some suspicious fraud and things like that, I don't like that they just automatically assumed it was all Democratic fraud. So I dismissed 2000 Mules for the fact that they made a huge amount of basically assumptions. If you see somebody putting ballots in a mailbox over and over again at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's suspicious as hell. But to automatically assume they're doing it all for Democrats without seeing what's on the ballot, you can't make that leap.
No, you're right. But it's like a documentary, and some things, some people gonna like it, some people gonna love it, some people gonna.
It's not about liking or loving it. You're making accusations that you don't know.
That's what they're doing. They're making accusations, and that's their right. Okay, they want to make that accusation because that's how they feel about the situation.
Yeah, but we can't overturn an election based on feelings. You need actual evidence.
No, you can't. You cannot. You're right.
Yeah.
Over feelings, you cannot.
So what happened?
That he was leading. Hold on. The facts are that he was leading in Georgia at one point, and he was leading by a huge amount. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Now that's a fact. Now, all of a sudden, turn off the TV, and the next thing you know, he's losing Georgia.
Okay.
Doesn't that kind of like,
No.
Okay.
No, it does not, because you haven't.
Hold on. I'm just.
You asked a question.
Hear your perspective. I know. I'm just trying to let me finish making my point, young man. You know, you're younger than me. You know, I'm older. You know, sometimes my thoughts, man. Help me out here.
Take your time. Take your time.
No, so, maybe, there are some people in the world that don't think like you and I. They think different. Some people may be more open-minded. Some people may be closed-minded. Some people may be whatever. The point is, anybody that wakes up, and I'm just talking in general, and you went to bed, either you voted for him or you didn't, but you see that he was up by a huge amount, and then you wake up and he's losing. Like, I don't know about you, but I'll be like questioning, like, how did that happen? Because the way it looked,
Okay.
wow, he got it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Now let me respond to that. Now I can understand seeing Trump way up, and then all of a sudden he's starting to lose and questioning what the hell's going on. And you're not the only one that questioned that, but there are 3 different follow-up responses. First of all, Trump was basically suggesting that mail-in votes are fraudulent and telling his party not to use the mail, go in and actually cast a ballot. So when Trump was way ahead, this was before the mail-in ballots had been counted. Now, I agree with you. If you see something fishy, you should be able to ask questions. Where you and I disagree is the notion that any answer they give me doesn't fit my narrative, I'm going to throw out. You can ask questions, but when the ballot officials start giving you answers, that's something different. But to finish the...
What if you was running for district president when you're at, and the handsome liberal is up by 10,000. Oh man, I got this in the bag. You wake up in the morning, hey, you lost. How did I lose? Would you not question?
Yeah, that's where you and I. That's where.
Yeah, I know. And you agree, and you said yeah.
Okay, so where are you going with this?
Okay, I'm going with it. The fact that, so they tell you, yeah, you ask questions, and to you, you're like, well, this doesn't seem right to me, or B does not seem right to me. You want to question.
Then you go to court.
Because, right. So, he kept questioning, and they kept shutting the door.
They didn't shut the door. No, they did not shut the door. He got 3 recounts. He got 60 court cases. He got a chance to present his case to the Supreme Court, and they refused to listen because of the evidence. They didn't shut the door on him.
Then why did he... Okay, all right. The only thing I'll say, though, is with this court case that he has in 3 districts, stuff will come out. Okay, discovery. Okay, discovery will come out, and we'll see more if any other thing, or, whatever else is going on behind the scenes that we don't know about will come to light.
I gotta disagree with you. Or let me tell you why I disagree with you. First of all, the case that Trump is dealing with in Georgia is about him allegedly committing election fraud. It's not to relitigate whether he won in Georgia or not. When he gets up there and starts talking that stuff, the state prosecutor is going to say objection. It's irrelevant. And we already know that he's pissed off the judge by criticizing her and her family. So you can expect the judge to just basically say sustained all night. It's not about rehashing the 2020 election in this.
No. What I'm saying is, whatever illegal stuff, if it happened, will come out.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever you do in the darkness shall come out to the light. Okay?
Yeah.
So if anything was done in the dark, it shall come out to the light. That's all.
Yeah.
Me, I'm an open-minded person thinking that, there's more to the story than what CNN, what Fox, MSNBC, all these other people right now are saying. Okay?
Is it possible?
Everything for
Is it possible there's more to the story than what the Trump administration is saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Everything will come out to the
All
light.
right.
If Trump did something wrong, it will come out to the light. If he didn't do nothing, on the other side, it will come out to the light. Let's just wait and see what happens in court.
Fair enough.
Let's see what comes out. That's
All
all
right.
we could do. Because we could speculate right now. We could what if it right now, right? And like they have an old saying, if was a spliff, we all be high right now, right? Or if was a fifth, we all have a drink.
That is true.
We could
That
what
is
if
true.
it to that.
All right, Mariqua.
Have an open mind.
All right, man. Appreciate you coming on. I can't disagree with that last part. Good talk.
Let me go back on Mitch McConnell though, because you was talking about.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a minute. Go wrap it up quick. Go ahead.
I believe that there should be a term limit, okay? But in sincerity as well with him, let's all keep in mind that dementia is real. People do suffer for it. So let's, instead of bashing the man, let's all take out a minute of our time. You believe in God or don't, and pray for the man, pray for his family. And hopefully they put somebody there, okay, that is right.
All right.
All right?
Well said.
All right, well, I'll let you go, and you have a blessed day.
You too.
All
You
right.
too. Now, I just wanted to, and like I said, always, folks. And by the way, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 30,000 likes. Program is and shall forever remain MAGA friendly. Understand that. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone. MAGA are my preferred guests. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome on the program as well. Real quick to what he was suggesting. The point I was trying to get across is I absolutely agree with the last caller that if you think the election was not held properly, you should be able to ask questions. However, if your questions are being answered in a direction that is unfavorable to you, at what point are the courts or are the voting networks allowed to say, sir, we've answered your question? We can't, because if you keep, and we've all had somebody ask us something, not like the answer, maybe rephrase the question, not like that answer as well, and just kept asking you over and over again because they want to hear a different answer. At some point, you have to say, this is what happened. I can't rephrase it to fit your narrative. So that's what I'm saying, because Trump did ask questions in Georgia. We know that. In regards to suggesting that you went to sleep and he was up and you wake up and he's down. Well, there are places that happen in reverse too, by the way, and where Biden was leading in the beginning and he ultimately lost. And there's not a lot of complaints coming from the Trump camp in regards to that. But we know the mail-in votes. If you count the mail-in votes first, Biden is going to be up. And that happened in a couple states. And you didn't hear the Trump campaign complain at all when they started counting the actual physical votes and Trump ended up winning those states. But the mail-in votes is why Trump was up in some areas, and then he ultimately caved because they started counting the mail-in votes. And we already knew a host of those mail-in votes were going to be Democrat because Trump told folks not to use the mail-in system. So that's the first point. Second point, and I got three of them. Second point is the fact that Georgia performed 3 separate recounts. And Trump is still saying, well, you need to do something else. And it's like they did a county by county recount. They actually did a hand recount as well. They did an automated recount. This is what I mean when I suggest you keep asking a question because you don't like the answer. No matter how many recounts you do, is if they don't come out to show I won another one. So they gave him 3 recounts. And last but not least, Trump has had 60 different court cases all over the country. And the judges, they're not all liberal. The judges all ruled against him. So at what point do we consider his desire to seek a fair election and look into the 2020 election as satisfied? I mean, you got 60 court cases, 3 recounts. The Supreme Court heard what you were complaining about and refused to hear it. At what point, like how high can this go before somebody finally says, listen, sir, you've exhausted all of your avenues? Because that's what we're saying. We're making it sound like nobody ever listened to him. Going back to the box, appreciate you folks holding on. We'll keep it moving with strictly business. We're asking the question, with President Trump, more charges, more support for President Trump. What say you, strictly business?
How you doing, Tim?
I'm doing good.
You're doing an amazing job. I'm proud of you.
Oh, shit, appreciate that.
I have a question, just one question for everybody. This 91 charges from a president. What are we showing the future president? Well, what are we teaching them? If Donald Trump don't go to jail or prison, serve any time, then why not a future president do the same thing? You did not charge Donald Trump, so how in the world you can charge me?
So you're saying we're setting the president, we're setting a bad precedent that could lead other presidents to be lawbreakers.
Exactly.
I don't disagree with that.
Doors open wide.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Just like when Chris Christie stated that with Trump not showing up to the debate, he opened the door for Biden to do it. Because folks are saying, well, Biden doesn't know where he's at. He can't read without a teleprompter. We should see him debate so we can tell what his cognitive abilities are. And as Chris Christie pointed out, well, if our side's not showing up to the debate, you can't complain when he doesn't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're going to use Trump as an example for most charges and cases. Look what you guys did for Trump. Because I don't have money, that's the reason why I'm serving time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wide open.
So at the end of the day, how do you explain him gaining more support the more charges that are presented against him?
Some people are just brainwashed. No matter what you do, they're going to stay with it. Once you commit to something like that and display yourself as a representative, it's hard to back up off of it. Either you go all the way or you just jump off the ship, and people are going to point the finger at you. Oh, see, you was a Trump supporter. Now look at you. You turned your back. So this is a step, and this is a pill you're going to have to swallow and just go for it. Whatever he does, hey, I got banners, I got T-shirts and shoes. There's his name now. I got to return them or burn them.
So you're going to stay. So even if you believe the guy does something wrong, because you have so much invested, you're more or less defending your ego? That's what you're telling me?
That's part of it, yes.
Wow. Now, how about this? I want you to tackle this. Now, I asked the question earlier in regards to how many avenues can Trump exhaust before he realizes, look, there's nothing else we can do. Every level of the U.S. government is saying you lost. But someone suggested that when you ask a liar a question, you're going to get a lie for an answer. So in other words, when you're asking the governor of Georgia, was the election fair? Or when you're talking to judges or even Mike Pence and Attorney General Barr, that they may all be liars and they're telling Trump a lie in regards to the election.
Exactly. You said the key word. They telling Trump. See, everybody putting Trump face over here on the board, and it was his advisors. Someone advised him on many of his decisions. Can I get away with it? Should I do it? Can I get away with it? He asked those questions. Think about it. His advisors. Trump didn't just woke up, the next morning and say, I'm going to do this, and had no questions about that act. No, it's his advisors. One told him, yes, you can do it. Oh, I would like to see you do it. No, there's no law against that.
I don't know. Do you think, because Mike Pence has stated on public, throughout the news wires that when they tried to tell Trump the truth, he just got rid of those people and found somebody who would tell him what he wanted to hear.
Exactly. Tell him. Advise him.
So he's...
Show him, is there a way, lawfully, I can get away with it? Well, you are skating on that line right there, brother.
Wow.
But I think you can get away with it. You are the president. You have that power.
So in other words...
They will use Putin as an excuse. Look at Putin. See? He's getting away with it. He's the president of that country. What about you, Trump? What are you going to do? Be like Putin.
So you're saying that Trump was trying to pattern himself after a dictator like Putin?
Yes, that's the goal. That is the ultimate goal.
Wow.
Run this country like Russia.
But most folks on the right support the Constitution, talk about the traditional America that the founding fathers gave us, and always talk about how free we are. Folks on the right, would they support a candidate that was trying to promote a dictatorship?
Yep.
That goes against what they're saying.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just saying that they're saying otherwise. You're basically pointing to hypocrisy.
I really believe this is just all an act to an ultimate cause.
Which is, what is the ultimate cause?
I don't want to say it on here, but
Give me a synonym. I need to know what's on your mind.
I think I said a little bit too much as it is. But Tim, thank you, my friend.
All right, come on back anytime, man. Strictly business. Appreciate it. All right, now I was curious as to where Strictly Business was going with that, but I can't force the man to speak up. Now, real quick, I saw a comment I wanted to tackle. Trump did not do shit except make the economy strong, and Biden's crime family is so corrupt, it's insane. So let's start talking about that, says James Reese on YouTube. Well, first of all, I'm one to admit, by the way, folks, tap the screen, get your boy up to 40,000 likes. Appreciate that. But in regards to the Biden crime family, so to speak, I'm one that strongly believes when we're talking about Trump that he should get his day in court before convicting him. Most folks on the right, particularly my beloved MAGA, also believe that Trump should get his day in court before he is convicted in a court of public opinion. However, when you're saying things like the Biden crime family and lock Hillary Clinton up and things like that, you're kind of being hypocritical because you're not giving them their day in court. That's all I'm saying. And I do believe that a lot of things that Trump deal with are somewhat karma related, because Trump had no problem traveling the nation when he became president, letting folks yell out, lock her up, and suggesting Hillary Clinton be locked up in prison. She didn't have her day in court. I'm just simply saying fair is fair. But now that Trump is facing the music, well, you can't say the guy is guilty. He hasn't had his day in court. You know, quit saying he's convicted. He hasn't been convicted of 91 charges. That's fine. But when you're doing the same thing to someone else and now it's happening to you, this shouldn't be where you have your enlightened moment that you realize is wrong. Because suggesting that the Biden's family is a Biden crime family, Joe Biden hasn't had a day in court either. In fact, Joe Biden has not even been indicted of any damn thing. So you can't complain about folks suggesting that Trump gets locked up or something crazy if you're using terms like the Biden crime family. It's the same thing. If Trump's kid had a laptop like Hunter, holy hell. Well, we could say if Biden had 91 charges, or Obama had 91 indictments on him, or 91 charges for indictments. Holy hell. They don't want Trump on the ballot. I agree with that. I do believe that there is some political politicization of why they're going after Trump. Where I may disagree is that he's 100% innocent of all charges. That part is where I have a disagreement. All right, we'll go back to the box. Appreciate you folks tapping the screen. Get your boy up to 45,000. Would love if you could do that. We'll keep it moving with Bees KUSA. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. Okay, you got an echo. Can you hear me?
I have an echo.
There you go. It's working now. I don't know what, maybe you're on Bluetooth, but it's working fine now. So
Okay.
more charges, more indictments equating to more support. How does that work? How does that work from a law-abiding party?
So, in my opinion, if you look at it, back when Trump announced he was running, back in, 2015, right?
Yes.
Coming in, he was going to run as a Republican, never been a politician, It started then, right?
Right.
They hated him. Like, get real about it. Impeachments, just all the shit, from the beginning of his announcements.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think they just started messing with me? Do you think he was just like a totally innocent guy trying to make the country great and people just started messing with him for no reason at all?
I just think they were either, it's not that they were afraid of him, they were just like, absolutely not, there will be no one. Like, you know, he's just a TV fucking celebrity. Like, you're just like, that's just showing anybody can go and run for office. And he just was coming in like, as an outsider, not a polished politician. You know,
What about the few years that he was saying his predecessor was born in Kenya? Do you think that could have led to any hate toward the man?
Who, Obama?
Yeah, Trump was saying that Obama was born in Kenya for several years before he became president. Do you think that could have led to anybody not liking him?
Oh, not liking Trump? I'm sure, but yeah, I guess.
I just want to bring that up because
There's a lot of reasons they didn't like him. He gave a lot of material for people to not like, you know?
yeah.
Like,
I just want to bring that up because I don't want to just fall into the notion, well, he was an outsider and people didn't want to give him a chance. He was actually attacking people.
I mean, yeah, he was known, his personality for, you know, The Apprentice, Get Fired.
Yeah.
Like, he's known for his, like, abrasive, just like an asshole, like, whatever. You know, his personality type, I would imagine. Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of reasons they hated him, you know. So I feel like they've hated him from the get-go. Everything, you know, and I'm not going to paint him as a victim. He obviously, like, you know, caused a lot of it, too, with his personality, once again. But look at all the different things in his presidency, all the lawsuits, you know, the impeachments, all the shit, right?
Right.
Non-stop, pretty much. I mean, again, not giving him victim, whatever. But I couldn't fucking handle it. I don't know about you. Like,
I'm with you.
Imagine?
Yeah, I'm with you. I couldn't handle it either, but I'm going to assume both you and I would probably not engage in so much back and forth and attack so many people that Trump did. I mean, there's a phrase that says, don't ditch it if you can't take it. You ever heard of that phrase?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
So
I definitely couldn't fucking handle it. I would have been like, bye, I'm done. You know, at least he did whatever. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, for all the time that he's been a politician now, he's been, I mean, they've just been throwing arrows at him left and right, I feel like. And, you know, these indictments, you know, nothing, it's just added on to it, I think. I mean, again, he has to have his days in court. What about the freaking trial date being set for, what's the one in Georgia being set for, what is it, the day before the...
before Super Tuesday. Yeah.
What's up, what do you think? What do you think about that?
You know something, this is where I say it's possible that the courts could be going after him. It could be politicized. But let's say, for instance, a baseball player, guy accused of doing something that was criminal. And they set his court date 2 days before spring training started. We wouldn't give a damn that interfered with his schedule. We would tell him if you committed the crime, you're going to deal with the justice system. We don't expect the courts to make provisions for you and I to coincide with our work schedules, do we?
I guess not, but it's a little bit different when you're running for president. I mean, this is different.
It shouldn't be.
It's not like it's a profession that nobody does. You know what I mean? Like, it's not baseball. It's not that. I think it's a little messy.
But if you want to have an equal justice system, because let's be clear, if they did it for Obama or did it for Clinton and gave them some type of special provision because they were running for office, wouldn't your side complain that they're looking out for them?
I suppose.
Yeah.
But I still think the timing's pretty fucked up. I also think the amount of charges and the indictments, I mean, it's like they didn't really do much with these, like, after he left office and whatnot. Like, it's been until he pretty much was giving, like, you know, maybe a year ago that he's definitely running for president without the announcement. Like, that's just, it started back up. I think, you know, and he was just, like, not going to run, they would have let it off. Don't you think?
I think that if Trump did not run for president, I don't think he would be facing 91 charges. I agree with that. I don't say that he would be free of all of them, though. I mean, I do. Go ahead. What'd you say?
Oh, sorry. No, you keep going.
Yeah. If he wasn't running for president, I think that he may have gotten away with some of the stuff and some, like, for instance, what he did to Ruby Freeman. I think they would have went after him for. They would have tried, like now they're trying to go at them civilly for that, or what, but they actually beat Rudolph Giuliani for money out of that. Some of that stuff, it's wrong no matter whether you run it or not. They didn't have any evidence to say some of the stuff that they said, like passing crack pipes and all. I mean, Rudolph Giuliani took that to such a strong level that Trump should have gotten rid of Rudolph Giuliani as an advisor.
Okay, well, I get that. Did you? I don't know if you. I'm a nerd, so I watched like after the election. I watched all the like different legislatures, like with the people coming forward talking about the voter stuff. You know, like in Michigan, there were people that had poll workers that were giving their testimony, like in all the different states. I don't know if you watched any of that. It wasn't really like publicized. But yeah, anything with voting and elections is boring as hell.
I agree. I agree.
Do you agree? I'm like, it is awful. Like, it is like numbers and just like, it's a lot.
Well,
I'm not saying anything else, but I'm like, dude, voting, anything is boring as fuck. And it takes forever.
Yeah.
I watched those hearings and, the different types of the situations. And I don't know if you saw the Ruby Freeman and Jay Moss, those videos, like their social media videos that they posted.
I've seen the evidence they presented that they were exchanging USB drives and things like that. But just like with the
actual social media videos though, like herself, like she went live. I think it was either, I don't know if it was Ruby or Shay or whatever. She was like live and she was like, she was doing like, had the camera facing towards her and she was like walking through the voting place and showing like video of the ballots and stuff like that. Have you seen any of that?
No, I haven't seen that.
Again, I'm not saying she's guilty or whatnot, but if you saw that kind of stuff back then, and I'm sure it's scrubbed from the internet, of course, but like you saw those kind of things and you're like, whoa, that's not good.
Well, but here's the problem though. Just like with the Dominion voting machines, these folks have had their day in court and lost some big money. If they had enough evidence to show that Dominion was switching votes to Biden or Ruby Freeman actually was switching votes in favor of Democrats, I think they would have been able to present a decent case. Now, I suppose we're going to believe that the judges and everybody is corrupt, so I don't know how we can take it any further.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really follow up on those cases and whatnot, but like, there was something, I saw something, and I can't remember what it was. Somebody was talking about, there's a video of her talking, and she was going to flip. One of them was going to flip and, like, say something. But that could be wrong. I heard it on, I found it on Twitter. I was like, okay, whatever. It's over and done with. We're not going to, it doesn't make that much of a difference anyways. But
well, let me say it like this. Let me say it this way. Rudolph Giuliani just this week lost a defamation suit against Freeman because the judge gave Rudolph Giuliani a chance to present his evidence of why he said that, and he didn't present anything. So he lost by default. It wasn't that a jury or the judge ruled on whether he was telling the truth or not. He didn't even present any evidence to the judge. So they ruled against him on default. If he had all of the stuff you're talking about, why not present that?
Yeah, I don't know if it was presented even a while ago or not. I just remember back then when that time, when the legislature hearings were going on, we saw those social media videos, like, they were literally, it was, again, I don't remember if it was Ruby or Shay. She's walking through showing, like she took a video of, like, the ballots, like, on the tables, and she was just, like, her different things that she made in her videos and went live and whatnot. Like, you'd have to see it to understand. And it was kind of like, what the fuck, like there.
Well, yeah, but I mean, to me, it would be just like the locker room talk thing. I mean, I assume if somebody watches that, they may think the Freemans are guilty, but there are other people who can probably see it and go a different way with it because Attorney General Barr, Trump's Attorney General, was the one who was responsible for sending teams to investigate these claims, and Attorney General Barr has stated that.
He's also a lazy ass.
Well, but you can't hold Barr accountable and overlook the guy that gave him his job.
Right, I get that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Trump was definitely guilty of trusting the wrong liars. That's for sure. But I mean,
yeah,
that's one of his flaws, obviously. But like, Barr was pretty much pointless on that point. I mean, again, after the election, like, it was just a mess. Like, we've never had an election ran like that ever. At least that I can think
Yeah, but there's a whole lot of issues I have. First of all,
that long to report the results and all that shit, you know? Where they, like, all of that.
yeah, but I think the election looks bad because we view it from a selective standpoint. For instance, Pennsylvania changed the way they voted. They blamed it on COVID, and the state of Texas sued Pennsylvania, and they said that your election, the way you're allowing people to vote, is unconstitutional. They were suing Pennsylvania because they thought Pennsylvania was doing things that were favorable to mail-in voting, favorable to liberals winning. Well, the governor from Montana came forward and asked on This Week with George Stephanopoulos, he asked the question, we made the same changes in Montana that they did in Pennsylvania, and the Trump camp is not complaining about us at all because they won in our state. And he asked, why aren't they suing us? Which is why the Texas lawsuit against Pennsylvania was ultimately dropped, because states that Trump won made the same changes and they weren't complaining about those states.
Were they, like, did they actually report their, you know how most of the states were reported and, like, counted and at least, like, not necessarily the night of the election, but at least by, like, the morning time, you had at least, like, most of the states were, like, counted and reported, right? For the most part.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
Yeah, except for those states, like, and then it took how many weeks, like, and then what?
Yeah, but, and I don't,
It was kind of fucking suspicious, don't you think?
yeah, and I don't disagree with you. Cause after watching 2000 Mules a half dozen times, I don't disagree with you that some suspicious looking shit took place. However, there is a difference between something suspicious happening and Trump winning by a landslide. You can't just assume everything suspicious that I see means that they're cheating and I would have won all those votes. Yeah.
I get you.
And that's what Trump was doing. Trump was not. Let me ask you this question as well. I've asked this before to other folks. In the state of North Carolina, Trump was losing up to almost election day in the polls and everything, and he ultimately won North Carolina. Now, while he was losing,
Forever to report that one.
but wait a minute though. When he was losing North Carolina, he said that there was widespread fraud in North Carolina. The moment he won,
Waiting to count it or something?
no, he said there was fraud happening in North Carolina.
Okay.
And when he won,
So that was the paranoia that came over him, I'm sure, as well, you know?
but then if it's paranoia coming over him in North Carolina, where else has paranoia not come over him at?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's just...
He's hurting his credibility.
Right, I get that.
Yeah.
My thing about it is like, there's multiple videos and instances of Democrats, you know, saying the machines are manipulatable. There's tons of videos of that. Nancy Pelosi, they're talking about voting machines. It's not just Trump that said it. There's tons of it. You know, it's on both sides, right?
Right.
They're saying all these, you know, these machines are not good. There's tons.
But then I ask you the same question again. If you see that the Dominion voting machines can be manipulated, does that automatically mean they were and votes were switched to Biden? Like I said, it's a difference between suspicion and Trump winning. He didn't say the machines could be manipulated. He said they were and votes were stolen from me. There's no evidence of that.
So, I mean, I'm not like a computer, like, I'm not like a technology type expert. You would have to have somebody that would actually be able to show you and get in there and do it. But, I mean, you have to have access and full access to those machines and be able to show how they're able to be manipulated.
That's not, no, you're going to need more than
You're
that.
also not supposed to be connected to the internet and all that kind of stuff.
But you're going to, if you leave the house,
You should not be using them though, right?
I don't disagree with you that the machine should be more secure. Where you and I have a disagreement is saying that if something is not secure, it means somebody has broken into it and switched votes. You could find something that's easy to hack. That doesn't mean it was hacked.
Right.
Yeah.
But, I mean, again, like, it would be like, I'm not a technology expert. they weren't supposed to, you know, there were some instances they're not supposed to be connected to the internet. There's stuff that you could probably figure out how it was done, but I'm not that person. Like, and they were supposed, you know, I don't know how easy it was for anybody to be able to go in there and actually have full access to it and see what happened or whatnot. I have no idea. But I'm saying, like, I just think that if both sides have said all these years that these machines are not to be trustworthy, so again, we're talking, here's the conversation we're having right now. Like, we need to get over that shit. Like, we need to figure something out.
So why are we here? Trump came down the escalator in 2015 and announced that the elections was rigged. You're admitting that even the liberals talked about these machines years ago. Why didn't Trump fix a problem that he told us existed?
I mean, that was the election, or the voting machines, they were talking about them being, like, manipulated.
Why didn't, if Trump was able to tell us in 2015 that the election was rigged, why didn't he take states to court and make an effort to fix the election when he won?
That's a good question. I don't really know about the cases actually after the, you know, the 60 cases that everyone talks about.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking, he didn't take
From the beginning.
the 60 cases didn't happen until he lost in 2020. He told us the election was rigged in 2015. Why didn't he do anything about it?
Did he say they were rigged?
Yeah. He said it before he even won.
I don't know what the process is to be able to change that kind of thing, like with the voting machines and whatnot. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's not my area of expertise, but I wish somehow maybe I know nobody wants to go back to paper ballots, and that's bullshit. And like, we're at 2023. I've heard you talk about this. Like, in the age of technology, we should not have to go back to that. But, you know, it's just something's got to get back to the basics, maybe, so we can just at least have some trust, right?
I don't think that'll work. I mean, because
I don't have an answer.
yeah, I don't think going back to paper ballots is going to give people trust. I mean, what happened with Ruby Freeman, for instance, that would have happened with paper ballots. With them, you know, with polling places being boarded up and them shutting the windows, that could happen with paper ballots. The same thing with you can't give somebody a bottle of water when they're in line. All of that would still be happening.
And you're supposed to be able to have the poll watchers. I mean, there's supposed to be a process that's done. I've never worked in an election, and again, I think it's boring as fuck. I don't want to do it, but I'm like, I guess maybe I could get involved and be a poll. I don't know how.
Then they would just say you are corrupt. I mean, if a person wants to find cheating, there's no way to avoid that.
Yeah, I guess. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So, I mean, look at what's happening right now. Attorney General Jim Barr essentially played the role of a poll watcher by going and looking into stuff. And they just said, well, he is corrupt.
Dude, at least he wrote his book. I mean, he's got his book out and he's got his interviews.
Speaking of that,
Oh my God.
it's actually a really good book. All right, I got to move it on, though.
Read the whole thing.
Yeah.
Read the whole thing.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have a good one. Appreciate you
Thanks for the
coming.
combo. See you later.
Anytime. So, no, but that's the point I'm trying to make, is that at some point, if you have an issue, you have a gripe, there are avenues you take to get to the bottom of your gripe. But all avenues have an ending. Just like you or I, if you got an issue with your neighbor, maybe you think they're violating your property, crossing with a line or whatever, there are court legal avenues you take. At some point, if a judge tells you you lost, you go to the next court. But there is an ending to it. I think the problem we're dealing with here is that Trump refuses to believe there is an ending. Or you can just simply say all of the judges that told me I lost were lying. They were part of the deep state. They were liberals. I mean, so I don't know how you can get to the bottom of something if you're not willing to accept the answers. I just don't. I mean, just like with the Dominion voting machines, me and the last guest were talking, and she was saying that, well, these machines could be hacked. Maybe that is the case. Maybe they should not have been accessible by the internet. Andy, appreciate that. Thank you. Maybe they should not be accessible by the internet. But at the end of the day, if you have machines that can be hacked, that is not solid proof that they were hacked. And the Trump campaign is not suggesting that the machines could be hacked. They're saying they were hacked and votes were switched from Trump to Biden. You got to prove that. And the proof is not showing that you can do it. The proof is showing that it was done. Just like if you went out of town and you left your door unlocked. That means your neighbor could have broken into your house. But you can't just come home and accuse your neighbor of breaking into your house just because you left the door unlocked. You got to show he was actually in there. And I don't see where the Trump administration has done that. It's just been a matter of this could happen, therefore it must have happened. It doesn't work like that. I don't think that's going to be enough proof. We'll see. Looking into the box here, exactly. They need the dead people votes and electronic that can be manipulated. Well, like I said, you got to prove that happened. And not only that, but two, in addition to proving fraud took place, you got to prove enough of it took place to show you would have won. Because let's say I vote left and I use somebody else's ID to cast a ballot that I legally should not have been able to, and I cast it for Biden. I represent one illegal vote for Biden. Proving that I committed a crime does not prove that Trump won. You got to find a bunch of people like me, enough to suggest that there was enough of these guys where Trump would have won. This is what I'm saying about the Dominion machines, dead people voting, literally everything from Jewish space lasers on down. You gotta first prove fraud happened, and then you gotta prove enough of it happened that Trump would have won. I don't think he's met this level of proof anywhere. You don't need to prove anything. You need to make a system that can't be rigged. James, there is no such damn system in existence. How the hell do you expect a system being ran by people to be rig proof? Where does that make sense at? Everybody, as the mob would say, has their price. There's no such thing as a system that can't be rigged. They've been rigging votes in America since America existed. Hell, the Klan was preventing us from voting. So you would have to assume every single election where there were folks actively trying to prevent African Americans from voting, for instance, was a rigged system. Rigging American elections kind of is the American way. And the idea that voter IDs is going to stop. Everybody driving a car is not using their actual driver's license. There are plenty of fake driver's licenses out there. People have been driving on fake driver's license for years. I'm sure some of you guys know people that use fake IDs and live their entire lives under an assumed name. Voter ID alone is not going to guarantee a free and fair election. You're going to tell me an ID can't be faked? I mean, this stuff is crazy. Let me go back to the box. Yeah, McLovin. Yeah, definitely McLovin from Superbad. Let's keep it moving. One and only Andy. Good afternoon. More support, growing support with every single charge. Explain that to me.
That's a Republican poll, because I saw a poll that said 64% of the country thinks that Trump's charges are serious to very serious.
But are they serious enough?
He doesn't have the Democrats or the independents, and he can't win with just a portion of the Republicans, because some of the Republicans are still real Republicans and not MAGA, and not voting for that.
Well, let me ask you this, though.
Something real quick from your first guy. If Michael Moore got a pardon from Joe Biden that made him a movie saying he didn't steal the election, would they believe that?
No, you're talking about Dinesh D'Souza. That's exactly what happened. Yeah, the creator of 2000 Mules was convicted of a crime and received a pardon from President Trump, and folks are supposed to accept 2,000 Mules as an unbiased film. I agree with that 100%, but I did watch it a half dozen times just so we could talk about it on air. So I have seen it, but you're correct. If the president gave him a pardon, because that's why they were claiming that so many Republicans are supposedly corrupted against Trump, is because they gained things out of it. But Dinesh D'Souza, who gained a pardon from the president he's defending, is not biased. Good point.
And then the second thing, they're like, who are all these people voting for Trump? Well, Generation Z just became of age, and they're not real fond of the fact that the Republicans don't want to give any gun laws at all, and so they're voting straight Democrat. And let's not forget, before the election, Steve Bannon said, and you can look it up under Steve Bannon leaked audio or Steve Bannon more leaked audio. Before the election, he said Trump's going to come out because he told all his voters to vote early, and he knew the Democrats were going to do mail-in votes, and he said he's going to come out in the middle of the night and say it was stolen. And we hadn't even had the election yet.
Yeah, I not only did I hear that, I've played it on air. It took place on October 31st, 2020. Steve Bannon stated that if Trump is losing late in the day on election day, he's going to just say it's stolen and start talking about Hunter Biden. And he did exactly that. So it does leave the question to be asked: how did Steve Bannon know what Trump was going to do 5-6 days before he actually did it?
Right. And then there's the last little caveat of Bannon saying the whole time that Biden had been leading the race the entire time until he got some traction with the hard drive from hell. And even that, he said, wasn't enough.
Yeah, well, like I said, we know that the right under President Trump had been told not to use the mail-in voting system. So anywhere where votes were counted early and they had not counted the mail-in votes yet, it should have been only, it should have made perfect sense that once they start counting these mail-in votes, this is going to change significantly. But they didn't take that into consideration.
And my husband's a computer software architect. He heard what she said, and he goes, do you want to explain it to him, or should I? First of all, those computers are not connected to the internet by any means at all. To change the votes, you would have to have somebody sneak into each machine individually, crack it, and put a chip in. It would be impossible. The Republicans now say it was one of the safest elections ever had.
Well, I heard...
Agree. The only people that don't think that it was a free election and fair is Donald Trump and his acolytes, because the reason they hate Fox News all of a sudden is because Fox won't tell that lie anymore about the stolen election. But since it cost them almost $1 billion, I can see why they don't want to.
Yeah.
Now, they can say what they want, but Dominion won $1 billion off of Fox.
Yeah, 3/4.
So those machines, it's already been tried in court.
Yeah, and I will say this. I was under the impression that they did show that the machines could be accessed by the internet. But I will say this. It's hard to know because Rudolph Giuliani in particular and Sidney Powell said so many things that were false. It's hard to know what's actually accurate.
They're not connected to the internet. Even one of my Republican friends is a poll watcher. She had to admit that, and it broke her heart because she argued with me all the way up to that there was no way they could be hacked. And then right after the election, she said they were hacked, and I just fell out laughing.
Well, with Fox News...
Well, they're not connected to the internet.
Well,
because there has to be some other way.
Well, with Fox News losing $750 million and Rudolph Giuliani losing as well, you gotta assume that a lot of the stuff they told us was not true. If they could prove their case, they would have proved their case. Particularly Fox News.
Okay, even if they found all the evidence, we are in 2023. We are getting ready to have a new election. Don't they think they need to be worried about what Trump's policies are in the future and not what
Well, no, not necessarily. If they believe the election was stolen, they want to get to the bottom of that because otherwise it will just be stolen from Trump again. That's what they're seeing.
Okay, well, I don't know how much more evidence they need than all the court cases, the entire Republican Party agreeing, except for Trump and his people, the Dominion lawsuits. I mean, there's enough evidence that at this point it's either willful ignorance or just out and out delusional.
Could be some of both. So let me ask you this question in the comment section. Lee Iron says, "So why is the left going after Trump?" The left going after Trump.
And the left isn't going after Trump. Last I checked, Georgia's a Republican state. Arizona's Republican. To make it so that they can be above reproach, we got Jack Smith and not Merrick Garland. So they can crawl all they want to, but the people that are testifying against Trump, all Republicans.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
This is an all Republican affair, no less. And his business, he has admitted multiple times on the case about his business that he has lowered the prices to get lower taxes and upped the prices when he wanted a loan. And there's video of him saying that, and that's fraud.
okay. So I hear your point, but like James is saying on YouTube, they're going after the guy because he's a threat. That's pretty much it. Say it plain and
That's
simple.
a woman. Even the Republican Party don't want him. The Koch brothers, the last Koch brother raised $70 million and said he'll give it to anybody but Trump. When your own party's donors are telling you they don't want you, I mean,
So at the end of the day, do you think we can have President Trump as our 47th president ever again?
no.
No chance at all.
Because the guy from the Federalist Society that was his friend and the liberal judge from the Federalist Society are both looking at the 14th Amendment saying Trump gave aid and comfort even if he didn't cause it. So it doesn't matter, he's still not eligible.
Yeah, and I see in the comments somebody responded and said every criminal is a threat. So the idea that Trump is a threat, I see somebody responded and said every damn criminal is a threat. I thought that was kind of funny. So at the end of the day, I do agree with.
January 6th hearing testified against him. I mean, I love the way they're Trump's so innocent and everything the Democrats do is guilty. They won't list one thing that Trump's done wrong, ever. So if you can't tell me something each president has done right and wrong, then you're just cheering for a football team. You don't care about the sport.
Let me test that theory out. Give me something you believe Obama did wrong.
He should have never let Live Nation and Ticketmaster become a monopoly because it hurt the music industry. It hurt all the venues, and it caused one of the biggest conglomerations in history.
Biden?
And then there's Libya, and I mean, I keep going. There's Libya.
Okay.
I mean, every president has done something right and wrong.
But what about criminal? What about criminal? What about criminal?
What about one more time? I missed last.
What about doing something wrong criminal? Do you think every president has done something criminally wrong?
I think every human on earth has done something criminally wrong, whether we knew it or not.
Yeah. I like that.
I'm just gonna be honest, straight up. I think everybody in the world has broke a law, whether they know it or not.
Yeah. But so
And you can say I'm pro-Democrat, but I used to be a Republican back in the day. I live in Alabama. Y'all taught me not to be Republican because this state is so poorly run under Republican management that it is literally falling apart.
So what made you switch over, and when did you switch?
I switched to voting for Obama after the dumpster fire that George W. Bush left and the live mass weapons of mass destruction. And before that, I was really too young to know what I was doing anyway. And once I got a good look at it and saw who was for freedoms and who were against them, because we're not the freest country on earth.
So I gotta ask you from the MAGA side of the aisle. You see what inflation is like right now. You see what you're paying at the at the pump for gas. Do you not see Biden as responsible for any of the financial woes we're dealing with right now?
Okay, well, since GDP versus debt equals inflation, and somebody didn't have hardly any GDP because country was closed and ran up $9 trillion worth of debt, that's where your inflation started. But it was worldwide because of supply and demand. So
You don't think Biden being heavily critical of the fossil fuel industry had anything to do with it at all?
no, we have the lowest unemployment. I mean, the lowest inflation rate of all the rest of the countries. And not only that, we have some of the cheapest gas because when they look at European gas, they look at it by the liter. And I think they think by the liter is the same price as by the gallon. But a liter is there are 3.7 liters in a gallon. So we pay a lot cheaper gas than all of Europe, all of Australia. You know, petrol there is expensive.
True.
They
I live
laugh
there.
at us.
I live there. I know it. Okay, let's move it on. Here's another one of MAGA's greatest hits I have to ask you. We didn't have any major worldwide conflicts under Trump. We had, we had the Russian incursion.
Wait, so we didn't leave Syria to Russia and let the Kurds suffer and just bail? We didn't do that?
Well,
We didn't leave 33rd?
wait, hang on a second. If I'm correct, Russia was already in Syria when Trump got sworn in. They were already there.
But it didn't matter. He still had him running while he was in office.
Yeah, but
And how he managed them, he blamed it on the generals too. Any good president worth his salt knows the buck stops at the top. When they asked Trump about his military problems, he blamed the generals. And not only that, they talk about Biden's 13, but they never talk about Trump's 33. Or the fact that he insulted a Gold Star family. Or the fact that the VFW commander asked him for an apology when he said they had a headache and they actually had traumatic brain injury.
Yeah. I forgot about that one. That was bad. Yeah, he did do that. Well, but what about?
He drew down right before he left office when he knew he lost. He drew down troops. If you listen to Millie talk about it, if Trump had not drawn down that last 2,500 troops, we might not have lost anybody in Afghanistan.
So you don't think the 13 lost while Biden was president? You don't think that's Biden's fault at all?
Oh, I do. And
Okay.
Biden admitted it was his fault. But the generals and all are saying if he had more to work with, it probably would not have happened. And if Milley had done what Trump told him to do, it would have caused a cataclysmic failure of our military because he wanted to draw down all of our military.
How do you respond to folks suggesting that, including Trump himself, suggesting that he could end the Ukrainian-Russian conflict in 24 hours? And many folks who support Trump believe it would never have happened at all if Trump was still in office.
Because Trump would have just given him the Ukraine and probably helped him take it because they're all buddy, and there's no way that no matter how arrogant Trump is or his followers think, Vladimir Putin has been trying to put back together the USSR since he was one of Gorbachev's foot soldiers, and everybody in Europe knows it, everybody around the world knows it. Why they don't know it, I don't know. And if you think that Trump's going to say, hey, I know you're right here at the end of your life and you're trying to take this back, but I want you to stop for me. You really think you would? Come on now.
Yeah. All right, last question before I move it on. You often hear the phrase the Biden crime family. Do you believe that Biden himself, obviously we know his son has already pled guilty to some minor crimes, but do you believe that they have committed some crimes?
I think that every Republican accusation is a confession.
Explain.
Everything that they have blamed the Democrats for turns out, like we got blamed for January 6th, but it was Republicans.
Voter fraud.
Everything they accuse a Democrat of do. The Democrats stole the elections, but look what Ken Paxton did in Texas.
Yeah.
Look at all the gerrymandered states. Look at all
But you do realize Hunter Biden was being paid like $60,000 a month for what was it, Burisma or whatever, and he did not have a background.
He has a logistics degree. Yes, he does. He has the exact degree.
You think that man was earning that kind of money?
They're cushion jobs, and $1 million ain't even hardly nothing because some of these mid-level people that work in like 500 companies have $60 million golden parachutes.
Yeah.
Let's. $1 million's a lot of money to them, but to somebody that's rich, $1 million's not a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, we know it's not to Trump's lawyers at this point.
It's really funny to hear them talk about the Biden crime family when we completely ignore Ivanka's patents. We completely ignored Jerry Went got $2 billion and took the Secretary of Treasury with him, Steve Mnuchin. While Trump was still president, didn't give any of that money to him. Trump was the only president not to show his taxes, and now we know why. I mean, Trump didn't follow the emollients clause at all. Every gift he's ever got, they found somewhere in a bathroom next to Bedminster. I mean, the man is been in debt to Deutsche Bank forever. And do you know what Deutsche Bank's being investigated for?
What?
Doing business with the Russian mafia.
Wow. So, last question. I've had people suggest that basically overtaking Nixon, that Trump could be basically the most corrupt president in history. Do you think there's any chance that he could ever receive that label as being the most corrupt president in history?
Trump?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Look, they didn't forgot Benedict Arnold's name. What are you talking about? His whole family line's going, ooh, ooh. I'm just telling you.
Wow. That's a...
Him and Nixon and all the rest of them that screwed up the past are going, I look good now.
And that could happen. Andy, I got to move it on. Very, very good conversation today. Appreciate you coming in here.
It's a pleasure. Have a wonderful holiday weekend.
You too, definitely. Now, I wanted to play something. I don't know if I queued it up or not, but since we're heavily talking about the 2020 election, I wanted to play this because I don't know if all of you folks have heard this. I will go back to the box shortly. Tap the screen. Get your boy up to 70,000 likes. The program always will remain MAGA friendly. MAGA are my preferred guests. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone. You enjoy civilized dialogue, both sides of the aisle, without any worry of the host blocking, banning you because you don't agree. You'll never be blocked or banned here because you disagree with the host. And I won't even censor or limit your time when you're in the box. I believe in free speech. But I want you to hear this audio clip. This is, you see on the monitor behind me, that is Steve Bannon, obviously a close associate of President Trump's or former President Trump, and was indeed on the administration. This is the clip we're talking about. It's only like a minute long here.
And what Trump's going to do is just declare victory, right? He's going to declare victory. But that doesn't mean he's a winner. He's just going to say he's a winner.
Now, this is on YouTube, leaked audio from Steve Bannon.
The Democrats, more of our people vote early that count. Theirs voted mail. And so they're going to have a natural disadvantage, and Trump's going to take advantage of it. That's our strategy. He's going to declare himself a winner. So when you wake up Wednesday morning, it's going to be a firestorm. We're going to have Antifa crazy, the media crazy, the courts are crazy, and Trump's going to be sitting there mocking, tweeting shit out, you lose. I'm the winner. I'm the king. And he'll be all over. He'll be going, where's Hunter? Is Hunter on a crack pipe? I mean, no, he'll be, because then it doesn't matter. Remember, here's the thing. After that, Trump never has to go to a voter again. He's going to fire Wray, the FBI director, and he's going to say, fuck you. How about that? Because he's never going to, he's done his last election. Oh, he's going to be off the chain. He's going to be crazy. Also, if Trump is losing by 10 or 11 o'clock at night, it's going to be even crazier. No, because he's going to sit right there and say they stole it. I'm directing the Attorney General to shut down all ballot places in all 50 states. It's going to be no. He's not going out easy. If Biden's winning, Trump is going to do some crazy shit.
How would he know that? Now that clip is from October 31st, 2020. So that clip is from 5 days before the election and the votes were cast. How would he know that? I mean, everything he said happened to a T. How would he know that Trump is going to say the election is stolen, bring up Hunter Biden? I mean, like literally everything the man said 6 days earlier happened to a T. Is this like the white version of Madame Cleo? Can somebody explain that? Now, listen, I get a lot of folks, as I always say, I talk to folks left of, Bernie Sanders to I'm having QAnon for dinner, to my beloved conspiracy theorists. Can you explain how this man knew this shit 5-6 days ahead of time? Does that not seem suspicious at all? We're talking about stuffing ballots and talking about Ruby Freeman and all of that. What about Steve Bannon? Can someone tell me how that passes the scrutiny test? That he's able to predict exactly what's going to happen 5-6 days early. Just want to point that out. Wasn't Madame Cleo a scam artist? Yes, yes, Lucas, Madame Cleo was a scam artist. And that's what we're asking, how would Steve Bannon know this that many days ahead of time? Where he's even saying Trump is not going to go out easy. He's pretty much also admitting Trump is not going to concede. Trump is going to say it was stolen. I mean, he's literally giving the greatest hits. How would he know that? Looking in the comments, Trump believed that because all the changes in the states due to COVID election would be rigged. Rigged and stolen are two different things. If changes are being made that you feel are unconstitutional, like in Pennsylvania, you go through the legal process to sue Pennsylvania. If you lose, you appeal it. If you lose, you take it to the Supreme Court. But that doesn't mean every judge that rules against you is suddenly deranged and married to a liberal. That's what we're talking about here. At what point do you exhaust your avenues in the court system and say, okay, I lost? You can't criticize judges and their families and shit because they didn't rule in your favor. And then, well, I expect the next court to give me a fair shake. You're not going to get a fair shake from anybody. Once you become known as somebody who insults judges and disrespect the court. We'll keep it moving, though. Jeff Munter, trying to find out, it appears that more indictments essentially equals more support for President Trump. Jeff, good afternoon.
Tim, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be back.
Pleasure to have you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I have two responses to your question. First is like my answer or my theory, and then another one is a kind of an asterisk.
Sure.
So I'll start with the answer. So the reason that I think, as someone who actually talks to MAGA people, who sometimes has conversations with them, most of the time has debates with them, like you, I actually engage with these people. I hear them out, and I kind of come to the conclusion over the years that the reason that he gets more support, the more indictments, is because he's created a political environment that is shrouded in cognitive dissonance, especially among his supporters.
Yeah. So they just do not trust that. They don't trust anybody but him in terms of the system.
Exactly. And, it kind of goes down to how he got support in the first place. He was bringing attention to all these right-wing conspiracies that people had, including things like the deep state and the establishment, and these communist, Marxist people are trying to infiltrate our government, all of that. Never really saying he believed these things, but he was giving legitimacy to these people who did believe them. So, when he does that, he's gaining support in a way that he can say almost anything. In fact, I would say literally anything at this point. He could come out tomorrow and say he has seen evidence that Cthulhu is real, and his supporters would eat it up and absolutely support him.
You almost are alluding to a cult.
I know, yeah. Well, that's the thing, is I hesitate to call them a cult, but they are certainly cult adjacent. They have all this wavering support for him. They compare him to Jesus. They say he would be best friends with people like MLK, despite the fact that MLK was constantly talking against all of these talking points and beliefs that modern Republicans have. It's just, I don't understand
how we can get past this. It's created a level of cognitive dissonance where they just do not care what the evidence says. And like you said, no matter how many times they get told the answer they don't want to hear based off of the evidence and all the court findings and the testimonies and the recounts, they still believe it's some big deep state conspiracy that just goes deeper and deeper.
Yeah, yeah, that's where that's where the problem is that we would not be able to run a country if defendants in court, if nobody trusts the court. I go into court, whether I'm taking somebody in for a civil suit or whether I'm up on charges. If I don't believe anybody that rules against me is telling the truth, how could any of this stuff work?
100%. And that's kind of why when you talk to people who believe the election was stolen, it doesn't matter if you bring up the fact that 60 courts rejected his claims and that he got his recounts and that it's been almost 3 years of people constantly looking into everything that was looking suspicious or whatever, Hunter Biden, anything along those lines. There has been no conclusive evidence outside of speculation, hearsay, or just flat out debunked evidence.
And I'm willing to at least have an open mind where there is an issue, and I'm with you. 3 years into this, if Trump won by a landslide, they should have been able to present more evidence than they've come up with so far. A few votes here or there, or some, you got a few, somebody who shouldn't have voted, or they're an illegal immigrant. You can show 1 or 2 ballots. Trump said he won by a landslide. There should be a lot of information being presented already.
Yeah, and that's why it's so much easier for them to believe that there's some big deep state conspiracy, and it just keeps going deeper and deeper beyond, like, all these people who are lifelong Republicans who have just turned against him because they hate him, or there's some big communist agenda that's run by an underground Democratic ring. They find that easier to believe than Trump being a pathological liar with narcissistic personality disorder.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is that, I haven't talked to, when it comes to MAGA, I don't think they believe Trump is lying about anything. I do believe they believe he is doing what's best for this country, and he is surrounded by basically a supporting cast that's full of liars. But yeah, most believe that Trump is doing what is in the best interest of this country.
Right, exactly. And that kind of leads into the heavy asterisk I have towards he's gaining support every time he gets an indictment. That's true. He's gaining support within the Republican and the MAGA groups, but it's not helping him in the long run in terms of like the general election. As of right now, over half the country has a negative viewpoint on Donald Trump. Most of the things that he stands against, either directly or indirectly, are things that young people support. For instance, wokeism and things like action on climate change. So yes, this is 100% gaining him traction in the primaries. That's why he's ahead so far. But when he steps up to the voting booth, all these independents who were against him in the 2020 election are not going to flip on him because he's getting arrested and charged.
Yeah, but what about on our side? We talk about Trump, but there's not a huge amount of support, particularly from the latest Generation Z or whatever they're called. They're not really enthusiastic about Biden. So even if they dislike Trump, because of their lack of enthusiasm for Biden, can we even depend on them to show up to the polls?
I think 100% we can. And I think there's nothing more telling for that than the 2022 midterms. Historically speaking, every time the party out of power has to step up to the midterms, they get crushed. But then all of a sudden, we see this year people showing up to the polls and showing up to the midterms. The Republicans lost the Senate. They barely squeaked in a majority in the House. And every single person in swing states who was an election denier or at least a serious questioner was rejected by the voters. So obviously, there is a danger to Trump stepping up to the ballot and not enough young people having the same energy going out to the voting booths as they did in 2020 and 2022. But as long as the people who understand he is a threat to democracy and to this country's soul get back in the voting booths and make their voices heard, he does not stand a sporting chance, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, but in regards to people suggesting that Trump is a danger to the country, they're looking at their take home, they're looking at what they're paying for the price of goods and services, they're looking at what they're paying at the pump. Do you believe any of them think that Biden is a danger to this country because of what's happening economically?
I'm sure there's some who do. I mean, the majority who I've talked to understand that there's more context than that. But whenever someone says Biden is responsible for inflation or he's the reason gas is so high, the question that I always ask them is, okay, what did he do to cause it? Correlation is not causation. Just because he's in office doesn't necessarily mean he's responsible.
But there are answers for that. But there are answers for that. When you ask now, we can debate the answers, and many folks will say that he didn't do these things or these things didn't cause it. But for instance, his constant attack on big oil may have something to do with the reason why fuel prices are up. And we know once fuel prices go up, everything that's shipped, it leads to a trickle-down effect on goods and services everywhere. We know he's promoting alternative energy, electric cars, and things like that. So some believe his attack on the pipeline and all of these other things led to an increase in the cost of fuel.
Yeah, and to those people, there are a couple of things I say. Number one is shutting down one pipeline is not going to raise the price of gas $2 or $3. Like, that's just not how pipelines work. And in terms of the Keystone pipeline, I don't think they understand the purpose of it. The purpose was moving Canadian oil from, I believe, Canada to the Gulf of Mexico. So it didn't really have that much of an impact on our economy to begin with. And of course, he is promoting things that are going to lead to a greener earth and move away from fossil fuels. But he's transparent about the fact that we are going to need them for at least the next decade. This isn't something that you do overnight and not something everyone can afford tomorrow. I certainly wouldn't be able to afford to buy an electric car tomorrow. But if you develop all these methods and come up with fuel-efficient ways that are clean, then they're going to become more widely available and they're going to become cheaper.
We are currently at a proxy war with the nation of Russia, and we obviously were not while Trump was in office. What happened?
Right. So, I don't know that. Here's the thing that I say whenever someone blames Biden for the invasion of Ukraine. The question that I ask them is, why would he do that? Because Trump is fully transparent about the fact that he does have a relationship with Putin and says, and by the way, that's a good thing. Biden has been a supporter of Ukraine from the beginning, kind of rooting for the underdog. He sent them aid where he felt like it was appropriate. He rallied NATO in support. So for Biden, if there really is this mindset behind Putin, like, okay, if Biden gets elected, that's my opportunity to invade Ukraine, to me seems like a pretty stupid plan. Because that's opposition versus someone who's just going to let him take over Ukraine. If he truly does want to take over the world or reestablish the USSR, whatever it is he plans on doing, for him to wait specifically for Biden to be elected is a very stupid plan.
I mean, let me give you my theory on it. You can shoot it down or let me know if you agree or disagree. And by the way, folks, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 80,000. There's well over 550 plus of you guys in here. So definitely tap the screen, show your boy some love, get the likes up. In my humble opinion, under President Trump, the Ukraine had no chance in hell of becoming a member of NATO. Under President Biden, their chances of becoming an ally officially of the United States grew significantly. So seeing the change of viewpoint from Biden to Trump, or from Trump to Biden, I believe personally that Putin did what America would do. If we thought that Canada or Mexico was on the cusp of becoming a member of the Soviet Union, I think we would start causing problems for one of those nations as well. And I don't think that Putin had that to worry about under Trump. But under Biden, he had that to worry about. So I think he was trying to act proactively and do something. And also, folks say, well, under Trump, it happened under Bush, it happened under Obama, it didn't happen under Trump, and it happened under Biden. I think it's mainly because under all three of those presidents, we were against Russia. Trump is the only one that was more pro-Russia, so Putin didn't have as much to worry about. So that is why I believe that Putin was not making inroads under Trump when he did it under all three of the other guys.
Right, exactly. And, that's an interesting theory. I wouldn't put it past the realm of possibility. The only thing I would say is, I mean, there are plenty of countries around the world that are U.S. allies that Putin doesn't seem to be attacking. He said if Ukraine is successful, he's going to go for countries like Poland next. But, you know,
Yeah.
at the same time, there are representatives of the United States who have made it clear to Russian ambassadors that were they to attack any of our NATO allies or use any small nuclear weapons or anything along those lines, then the U.S. would bomb every Moscow column and they would sink every ship in the Black Sea and the war in Ukraine would be over in like 2 weeks.
I don't, you know something, when I look at the United States, whether it's telling Saddam Hussein's people to rise up and we would help them and then leaving them behind and watching them get slaughtered, or what we did in Vietnam, or hell, even going back as far as the Native Americans and breaking treaties. I don't get why people still trust the United States. We got out of the Iran deal is another perfect example. I don't see why people take us at face value. We have a lengthy history of breaking deals and treaties. I don't see why folks trust the U.S.
100%, and that's why, you know, when Trump was in office, confidence in world leaders went from about 30% negative to about 50% negative. He pulled us out of the Paris Climate Accords because he said it wasn't fair that we were
Yeah.
doing the most, even though we're supposedly like the wealthiest country in the world. And you know, I talk to people in other countries and I just ask them like what their opinion is of the US, and one of my friends who lives in Australia finds it absolutely baffling that the healthcare system is for profit in this country. I mean, there's someone who got sick and didn't see a single hospital bill that wasn't completely reasonable. You know, I went to the doctor the other day with insurance, and I got a basic checkup, a refill of my inhaler, and an update of 3 vaccines. Before insurance, it was $800. After insurance, it was $200.
Yeah, I mean, I used to live in Australia, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And I don't believe the system should be for profit either. But the folks are going to defend them and say, well, if they weren't making any money, it would remove their desire to be innovative and create, because we make a lot of the drugs. A lot of the drugs that are on the world system come from the United States because the drug makers make so much money here. So people believe that if you took away the for-profit margin, you would also take away the desire to invent.
Of course.
So,
Well, I mean, there's certainly a point to be made for that. And, anytime you try to talk about the healthcare system in the country, people defend it like, look at all the opportunities that are available. Anyone can get into the medical industry. Look at all the progress that's been made in this country. The COVID vaccine was made in the United States of America. So clearly there's no problems here, right? And the answer to that is, think about how many people have been turned away from the medical industry who have high intelligence and a drive to create something new because they could not afford college. It costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to medical school. It cripples you with debt for almost the rest of your life unless you get lucky and can pay it off. And then you enter the job sphere and it's still something that's super competitive, and you have to work in how many fields before you can actually start making progress. It's the number of people who have probably been pushed away from the medical industry because it's not realistic for them to get into it. I cannot make the case that this is the best system we could possibly have.
And I 100% agree with that. I mean, we are a capitalist country, so we're going to put money over everything. In some areas, there are plenty of areas in our country, like the penal system, for instance, incarceration for profit. There's some areas where, when you say like Trump likes, he's a businessman, some areas of American life should not be run by a business. It's just not, like, you don't want to dial 911 and the police serve you based on how much money they can earn. It's not so there are areas of our life that capitalism is a bad idea. But Jeff, I do got to move it on, man. Appreciate you coming in. Hey, good talk.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. Come on. Oh, appreciate that. Come on back anytime. All right, looking in the comment section, I wanted to tackle one. Someone said, Lucas said, Canada and Mexico are both dependent on the U.S. for their defenses. So your what if is pointless. It's a false equivalency. I mentioned that if Mexico or Canada was seeking to unite with the Soviet Union, America would take those countries potentially to war. We would certainly at least start interfering with their elections and trying to put a pro-U.S. leader in place. And if that didn't work, we may go to war. And he's saying because Canada and Mexico depends on the U.S. for defenses, that's a false equivalency argument. Well, if they're going to join the Soviet Union, their defense is covered. That doesn't make any sense. Maybe they believe that they would be safer depending on the Soviet Union for defense instead of America. Maybe they fell out with an American leader. And I'll give you a perfect example. When Trump was president, he was complaining that NATO member states were not paying their fair share in terms of their defense budgets. That's why he was talking about getting out of NATO. Now, as we know, just like with Canada and Mexico, as my viewer stated, they depend on the United States for security. But if Trump got his way, let's say Germany is not paying a hell of a lot for their defense budget because they know Big Brother, the U.S., got their back. All of a sudden, Trump comes in and says, you aren't paying enough. If you don't pay your fair share in your defense budget, we're going to get out of NATO or we're no longer going to defend you. Well, what happens anytime somebody takes away a discount and starts charging you fair market value? What is the first thing you do? You shop around. So if Trump had gotten his way and forced these countries to pay their fair share, this opens up the door to start shopping around. Maybe China is offering defense for cheaper than America is. And the promise of being defended by China is pretty damn valuable. So if let's say you're Japan, for instance, and America is demanding you step up your defense budget significantly. China or Russia, nuclear countries come along and say, you don't have to pay as much as America is demanding. We will defend your country for half that amount. This is why I was not a fan of what Trump was doing, because it could cost allies. Trump believed that by demanding these countries pay their fair share for their defense budget, they were just all going to adhere to it because they want to maintain being defended by the United States. The idea that they may shop around, causing us to lose an ally, never entered the equation. You just assume you're going to get guaranteed compliance, which is why I wasn't a fan of it. Fortunately, he didn't succeed in that area, and we still have NATO. But I never thought it was a good idea to disband NATO to get more money, which is kind of what was going on there. I mean, listen, we are the wealthiest country on the planet. Maybe some of these other countries could step up their defense budget. I'm not disagreeing with Trump on that point, but I would rather have NATO, even with them paying less, than to put NATO at risk to get more out of them. I just don't think disbanding NATO is in America's best interest at all. So fortunately, he didn't succeed on that, but that is what he was trying to do. Looking in the comments, NATO would have given us more money. NATO would have given us more women if they don't have the money. Big nasty, that is nasty. Wait a minute. NATO would have given us more women if they don't have the money. What are you talking about, hoes? What are you suggesting, that if the country can't step up their military budget, I can't pay you, but how about I see you over a ship of gorgeous ass women for you to think about what we can't come up with? What are you talking about? It sounds like some pimp shit. Please explain that. All Trump wanted was to have them pay the same. Why do we have to pay more and give more protection? Mav 21, good question. Why do we have to pay more and give more protection? Because we have a hell of a lot more say so. Period. Look at what we're doing now with BRICS. The American dollar may fall and things like that. We are always demanding everybody follows our lead. You ever heard of the phrase, pay the cost to be the boss? If everybody's paying equal, well, why the hell should the United States be in the lead? That's what I would say if I'm a member of NATO, one of the smaller countries, and you're telling me I should have to pay equal, and you're telling me as a supposed the leader of the free world, well, why should we have to pay more as a leader of the free world? Because your ass is walking around saying you're the leader of the free world. if you want me to pay the same as you, then we are leaders together. And my say-so should be as equal to yours. Right now, that's not the case. The United States is in the lead. You're paying the cost to be the boss. It's just, that's the way I look at it. If you want to step down from the throne and share it, then yeah, you can ask people to pay more. But if you want to walk around talking about you the freest, biggest, baddest country on earth and you the leader, and then you gonna pay a little bit more. That's how I'm gonna look at it if I'm the small guy. The minute you start asking me to pay as much as you, I'm gonna want to have as much say-so as you. You know how many countries, coalition of the willing under George W. Bush, got involved in Iraq when they knew from day one that invasion was bullshit, but they just followed the United States into it? Well, that's what happens when you pay more. You can call in favors and shit like that. If you had everybody paying equal, that ain't happening. This Iraq war is bullshit. We're not joining it. It would have been far more dissenting countries if folks were doing what Trump was talking about. You call it in favor. You think America would have bases on all 7 continents, have their ships sailing through everybody's ports and seas and shit? Nobody else is doing that around the world. Even Russia and China do not have ships all over the damn place on all, bases on all continents. You think that's not coming from the fact that we lead? You want everybody to be equal? Take your ass home. We can build our own base since you're making us pay for it. It would not be in our best interest to do that. It just wouldn't. So that's why I was not a fan of what Trump was talking about. You pay the cost to be the boss. That's the reason why fuel, even though we're bitching about fuel costs, it's a hell of a lot cheaper to buy fuel here than in any of the countries that we consider to be allies of ours. None of them. I don't think there's a single country out there, other than maybe in the Middle East, where fuel is cheaper than it is in America. That's paying the cost to be the boss. You getting shit out of it. So, all right, you can be greedy, but when people start shopping around, and you start fucking up alliances, you'll be rethinking that one real quick. I think America was getting a bit greedy when what Trump was talking about. That's my humble opinion. All right, going back to the box. Wow, what did I see here? Kit Kat says, red states protect the women and children. Really? I don't think the women in red states are very happy right now. You see how these abortion bills are falling apart? I don't know if the women are very happy right now. Now, in regards to protecting children in those states, I mean, I've heard of calls against giving children free lunch. We certainly know that food stamps and aid for dependent families with children are not big fan favorites in Republican states. Hell, there's even some states out there that are passing laws to make child labor legal again. Is that protecting children? I think we could easily point to where they are protecting children, such as the sanctity of life and banning abortion, and then we can point to areas where they're not protecting children, such as not favoring giving children health care. Most of the only reason Obamacare was not as strong as he wanted it to be, Republican states, period. Republican states were against it. Is that protecting children? So I can certainly offer you some counterpoints to the suggestion that Republican states are protecting children. That ain't always the case. Going back to the box, we'll keep it moving with Moo, the Tuxedo Cat, talking about Trump, more charges, more support. Good afternoon, Moo. Welcome back.
What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm in the trenches. I'm trying to figure out from a standpoint of ignorance. I'm admitting I'm ignorant on this. Why is it that it appears that the more Trump is charged, the stronger his support is getting?
I'll get into that with you real quick, man. I just want to say that Biden pumps more barrels of oil per day than Trump. He's also approved more oil pipelines than Trump. It's one of the things that progressives are really pissed at him about. So I don't know where this fake narrative of him having say that when the information I just told you is true, though.
I'm just telling you, there are whole.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
No, I'm saying that's not true because again, and second of all, man, folks, if you think that we own that oil, you are wrong. When that gets pumped out of the the ground. That's all by the oil companies. So it doesn't matter how much oil you pump out of the ground, you're just gonna fuck up your backyard. That's owned by the oil companies. Americans do not own that oil. That's not your oil.
Yeah.
That's the oil company oil, folks. So you can pump every last drop out of the ground in America, and it won't matter because they set the prices.
Yeah, you know, what you just said is what I've been saying constantly about you said they set the prices. What I believe is that Biden is indeed trying to get us off of fossil fuels. But I will say this: when you look at supply and demand, there is a reduced demand for fossil fuel under the Biden administration than any before, because he is going towards electric cars and things like that. So with the demand for fossil fuel dropping under the Biden administration, the price of fuel should be going down, not up. But I believe, as you said, they're setting the prices. They realize under the Biden administration, their days are becoming numbered. So they're price gouging.
Well, yeah, right. And that's going to happen because we're not going to stay on oil because the technology that's coming out is way too profitable for these big corporations for us to stay on oil. So that's going to happen either way, with or without Biden. And putting Trump in there ain't going to do a goddamn thing either. So you guys can just throw that right out the damn window because Trump don't set the oil prices either.
What about him? Could he potentially make backdoor deals though to get, you know, them pumping oil for cheaper and get over? I mean, there are deals to be made he could do, wouldn't he?
I mean, what kind of deal would you have? You want to give them more subsidies? We're already giving them a shit ton of money. What more do you want to do for them, my friend?
There's always.
You want to give them out of your pocket.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. You can do that. I'm not.
I mean, but you couldn't pose a threat like some folks are in there talking about removing.
You know what, guys? You need to get off of this bullshit with gasoline and get yourselves an EV. I don't know what the hell everybody's doing. Yeah, gas is going to be more expensive, guys. It's more expensive all over the world. It's actually less expensive here than in most other places. And Joe Biden has nothing to do with it. And oil ain't coming back, and coal ain't coming back. Okay, so I don't know what you guys are thinking in the chat. You know, my gasoline, yeah, your gasoline's expensive. Go bitch to Exxon.
Well, in regards to your claim that oil and gas ain't coming back, if we get Trump in 2024 or Vivek Ramaswamy.
Trump don't decide if oil and gas comes back, my dude. The tech companies decide what happens, my friend. Trump don't decide if we go back to rotary phones, okay? Trump don't decide if we go back to the abacus instead of the computer. Trump don't decide shit. Trump ain't that important. So let's not act like the president decides to put a smartphone in your hand. The president didn't decide to give you the internet. The president doesn't decide whether oil is expensive or not, or whether oil's going to remain around or not.
I don't totally agree with that. I do think that okay, that's fact. I do believe that the writing is on the wall and we're going to be going away from fossil fuel. But I do believe that if Trump got in power, he could slow that down and drag our use of or dependence on fossil fuel. I believe he could drag it on a little bit.
These people in chat, man, you know, I mean, the thing is, right, you know, these companies have things called solid-state batteries coming out that are going to replace lithium, and I don't expect MAGA to understand solid-state batteries. I'll just tell you right now, you can get like 900 miles off of a 10-minute charge. Electric cars are more powerful than gas cars. They can get more torque than gas cars. They have more potential power than gas cars. People clinging to this gasoline nonsense are ridiculous, man. Okay, so let's get into Trump now. Trump, what were you saying about Trump? I'm sorry.
We're talking about more charges apparently is converting to more support, at least among his own party. Why is the more he's charged, the stronger his support is getting?
I don't understand where the idea that the stronger his... So the same people that supported him always support him. He's not gaining support.
In his own...
Where is he gaining support from?
The Republican Party.
But they've always supported. Okay, again, where is he gaining support? The Republican Party's always supported him. He's not gaining more or less support within the Republican Party. They're cucks for him, right? And like 1/4 of the base is doing coke for him. So like it's not like they didn't.
Wait a minute.
Like,
Did you say?
Like, if you told me like 50% of the Democrats all of a sudden support Trump, I'd be like, yeah, he's gaining support. Look at that. You're telling me, oh, well, the Republican Party Yeah, okay. Well, where's
Let me make sure I heard that. Did you say they are cucks for him?
I honestly believe that MAGA may be like a homosexual cult. Honestly, because I see these dudes with him in like tight spandex on their page, Trump in like Captain America outfits and things like that.
Okay, I don't want to go down that path, but
Honestly, it's ridiculous, man. Like the whole thing is ridiculous. Like these people talk nothing about policy, man. And I'm not gonna talk solid state batteries with MAGA, dude. What the hell do they know about electric cars, my man? Right? They're sitting there worried about LGBTQ coming after their precious little ones that never happens. They need to burn books. They have so many important things to do, bro. And they can't be talking to me about electric cars. Because they don't know shit about it.
okay, all right. So at the end of the day, what about our guy? There's not a lot of support for Biden. You think that? Do you feel confident that Biden will beat Trump?
No, I mean, I feel confident that Biden will probably end up losing. I mean, Trump is not going to be on the ballot. I don't think Trump is even going to be on the ballot, to be honest with you, man. A lot of these secretaries of state are going to challenge. You know,
Is that a good thing? Wait, let me ask you that. In regards, because I've said the same thing, but I believe Biden from the Democratic side is a weak candidate, and I think if the Republicans were to put up a moderate candidate, they could beat him. If Trump is not on the ballot, that may be a bad thing.
I mean, I could be wrong, man, but I think Kemp is going to end up being president, man. I really think so. I think that Kemp is a very looked at in a very good light.
Governor Kemp of Georgia?
Yeah, and he already smashed the Trump candidate, like destroyed one, dude, like utterly.
But he's not. But he's not running.
Huh?
He's not even running.
Right now, sure. No, he's not right now. Nope. And he's looked at very favorably right now for saying the things that he said, because he said, I will back up the Constitution. I'm not going along with Trump's, stupidity, yada, yada, yada. And, people looked at that and they're like, wow, look at this guy. You know what I mean?
Didn't Mike Pence say the same thing?
Huh?
Didn't Mike Pence say the same thing?
Yeah, but they don't like, they wanted to unalive Pence. They wanted to unalive Pence.
I think if Governor Kemp were to run and start talking like that, they would want to unalive him too.
I don't think he needs to talk like that, man. I think he just needs to talk the way he talks right now. Because like I said, he already obliterated a Trump candidate. He's already beaten Trump, surrogately. But yeah, he already obliterated a Trump candidate.
I don't know.
He would be the strongest candidate that party would have at this point, honestly. I mean, look at the other people they have. They're all a disaster. Vivek is like a child, right? And he like when you talk to him about foreign policy, everything he says is a disaster, man. And he thinks that he can just take countries and tell them what to do, and they're automatically just going to comply. That dude's ridiculous, man. Okay.
But at the end of the day, when you like for candidates like Kemp you mentioned, is it possible for any Republican other than Trump to gain traction if Trump is in the background clowning them? Let's say the 14th Amendment kicks in and Trump is not on the ballot, but he's clowning Kemp. Could Kemp get enough Republican support if Trump is in the background refusing to give him approval?
I mean, unless he's tweeting from jail, because that's where he's going to be. He's going to jail. Like, folks, I got news for you. Your boy is going to jail. He's going to jail for a minimum of 5 years. He's going to go to prison. Yeah, he's going to jail. Yeah.
You think Trump will, are we talking house arrest or in an institution?
I mean, I think he will go to a prison, and he will be it'll probably be some high-class loveliness like whatever they call
A camp, they call them camps. But you think he will be incarcerated?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like, honestly, man, this guy is very lucky he's not being tried for treason, man. And I understand why they don't want to. They would be pushing their luck a little bit too far, I think.
Wow.
I would honestly, after all this is said and done, I would probably get another special prosecution going and do treason charges against Trump and Stone. Because you can't really leave Stone out there either, right? He's been manipulating the way. I mean, he already stole an election. Let's not act like Republicans didn't already steal an election. Okay, Roger Stone already stole one election for the Republicans. The Republicans stole the election from Al Gore, right? And instead of fighting back, he let them steal it, right? So what Roger Stone did was he caused a riot down in Florida, and the Supreme Court stepped in and stopped the counting of over votes because they knew that if they kept going, that Al Gore would have won the election.
Okay, I don't want to go too far. I don't want to go too far back, but
The government to overthrow an election already once, and now y'all have tried to do it again.
here's the problem that I have with what you're saying, and you let me know what you think on this one. Most of the charges against Trump, with the exception of Georgia, are federal charges, and they don't believe that most of these trials will have concluded by November of next year. So if Trump gets reelected, most of this stuff, at least on the federal level, goes away, doesn't it?
I mean, let's see what happens, you know, because old speedy trial is once a speedy trial. You know, there's two old speedy trials right now. And, you know, that might just happen to all of them because judges like to keep cases like that joined together. They don't really like to separate cases like that. So we'll have to see how that goes. But, you know, that whole speedy trial request, that means that the trial would start in October, and 4 to 6 weeks you have a verdict. So that's way before the election, my friend.
If
And
the
even in March,
You
4
mean
to 46 weeks you have a verdict. So.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, I'm hoping that whatever the case may be, innocent or guilty, yeah, I'm hoping that the trial takes place before the election as well.
Let's keep in mind, again, the 14th Amendment and what the Secretaries of State need to do not hinge on a guilty or innocent verdict. It's independent of anything that happens in the courts. It's whether they feel that he violated the Constitution or not. So whatever happens in these cases, he's not going to make it onto the ballot in some of these states. And I know there's already a challenge from a group of lawyers in Florida. If he gets taken off the ballot in Florida, Maggie, your election's already over before it starts. It's over right there. That's it.
You think DeSantis would? You think DeSantis would be? Wouldn't DeSantis want to keep him on the ballot?
So it's not up to him. It's not up to him. It's not up to him.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
not up to him.
So you think there will be court challenges basically in all 50 states?
Yeah, and that's the vehicle you use to do this, right? Because this has never been done before, so you have to have a precedent set. So one side's gonna be like, oh my God, this dude is a treasonous guy, and we're gonna do this, right? And the other side's gonna be like, no, he's not treasonous, right? He is allowed to be. So, and then you're gonna have the courts decide, right? And then it'll jump to federal court, and then it'll jump to the Supreme Court, and that's actually very bad news for Trump.
But we
It's
don't.
very bad news.
But we got to make all this happen within a year and about 2 months. We don't have a lot of time.
So you're not talking. So let's not act like this is going to be a normal thing, right? These processes get expedited, especially since an election is around the corner. So in cases like this, they're expedited. I can assure you, they can move quickly if they need to. They already have, right? So I'm not worried about speed.
Okay. All right, Moo. You know what I got to do. Appreciate you coming in.
Man, you have a good one.
Hey, you too. You too. Moo came hard today. I like it. All right, looking in the comments, Rich T says the case in Florida on the 14th Amendment was already dismissed. I haven't heard that. The case in Florida on the 14th Amendment you said is already dismissed, but you do know that what my caller was saying is that they're going to be potentially presenting these things everywhere. So, I mean, what about in Texas, or what about in Alabama or Georgia or Mississippi? I mean, if any of these states take Trump off the ballot that he had a potential of winning, like Pennsylvania, some of these states, I mean, that's a lot of electoral college votes that would be lost, assuming that happens. Trump is guilty. It's going to depend the Republican jury to hold him accountable. Well, assuming it's not put before a judge, but my opinion is probably going to be juries. I don't think they want to leave it up to a judge because most of the judges are liberal, and even the Republican judges haven't been very friendly to Trump. He hasn't done well in court anywhere on anything yet. Dismissed on standing, not merit, says that level. So that means it can be done again. This guy's the first one running to gun owners when it goes down, says Brown's backer. He may own a firearm. You never know. He may own one himself. Also, too, when it comes to running to gun owners, you don't want to run to somebody who ain't on your side. I'd rather run to the dude with a bow and arrow if he's willing to use it in my favor, as opposed to the guy with a machine gun that's actually trying to shoot me. So we'd have to figure out where that goes. But we're asking a question. I do appreciate you folks tapping the screen. Get your boy up to potentially 100,000, at least 95,000 likes, if you will. We're talking about the notion that it appears as if the more Trump is charged, the more the man is indicted, the stronger his support seems to be. Coming to you from a position of ignorance, I'm asking, why is that so? Tap the screen, get your boy likes up. Looking in the comments, on YouTube, don't know what the rest of the name is, talking about reading Ashley Biden's diary. I've seen a few folks during the live stream talking about Biden sleeping with his daughter and all of this crazy stuff. I don't know, what is that, a distraction at this point? I mean, that's like bringing up Trump suggesting that if his daughter wasn't his daughter, he'd be dating her or something. That stuff's irrelevant in today's time. Certainly if you believe that Biden has dementia and doesn't even know where the hell he's at. Hell, they couldn't even convict Ron Jeremy, the porn star, because he had dementia. So you guys are, to some degree, in my opinion, if Biden ever faces criminal charges, because so many of you folks are yelling that he's mentally out of it, you've kind of given him his defense, haven't you? I mean, if it does come down to it, and he starts looking like he may get convicted, shit, if I'm his lawyer, let's plead mental insanity. Half the country's been saying you're mentally insane anyway. Now is not the time to all of a sudden say, no, he knew what he was doing. No, you said he's mentally insane, so he can't be held accountable. So understand that you're kind of giving the guy a defense. Look at how corrupt Biden is with 30 million in wire transfers. I don't have access to Biden's account, but do I believe there is not some type of positional abuse in Biden's past? No, I believe that folks get to be at that level. Like one of my previous callers said, just about everybody has committed some type of a crime. I believe he's done some things that are in favor of his son that may not be legal. But I'm not going to look at Biden and bring that up and ignore Ivanka getting 26 Chinese patents, or ignore Jared Kushner getting $2 billion from the Saudis. They're all using a position of power to get paid in ways that they normally would not have. I'm not going to dismiss Hunter Biden at all, but I'm not going to pretend like the Trump side was innocent of that. Both sides were doing it. Any SOS can remove Trump from ballot. Can they do it legally, though? RFK fights for the people. He did nothing but win lawsuits against Big Pharma. Ethan, I think I think when it comes to the liberals, there's no support for RFK. I'm not saying RFK is a bad guy. I'm saying that what he's talking about does not have relevancy to the Democratic Party. We know what the Democrats are running on: pro-choice. They want common sense gun laws. They believe in a few entitlements like college tuition assistance and universal health care. He's not running on any of that stuff. Climate change is another big one with the Democratic voters. He's talking about COVID and vaccines and shit like that. I mean, even if what RFK is saying is true or you favor it, that's not what his supposed constituency is concerned with. You're talking about something that that's not their biggest issues. When they start asking them, well, what are you going to do on abortion, and pro-choice, pro-life, and the Second Amendment and shit like that? Where is his policies on what people actually want from the Democratic voters? I just don't see him having any chance of prevailing when you're not covering the regular town hall issues that a typical Democratic voter would ask him about. He's not talking about any of that stuff. So it's kind of like with Chris Christie. Us liberals are speaking fondly of Chris Christie, but listen to what he's talking about. It's all anti-Trump. He's not talking really about policies at all. It's just anti-Trump stuff. That's not relevant to Republican voters. There are Republican voters that want Trump held accountable, but they want to know, what are your policies? And he's not really talking about them. That's what RFK is doing. He's not really talking about anything that us liberals on the left are concerned with. So I just don't see any hope for him at all. In fact, RFK's biggest supporters are independents, libertarians, and folks who are on the right side of the aisle. So that's just, it's a waste of time. Look at it. Lucas Henry says there's no such thing as common sense gun laws. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. If somebody is suggesting that they want to go out and purchase a firearm to take their own life, you're going to tell me passing a law against that is not common sense? I mean, you don't think any of the mental illness concerns are common sense at all? What do you mean there's no such thing as common sense gun laws? There's tons of things that are common sense, red flags that you should address. No such thing as a common sense gun law. Wow. The biggest threat to evil, to the evil elite and the media, is Trump and RFK. And oddly enough, they're running for opposing parties. That's interesting. That's interesting. Trump and RFK, huh? Well, that just doesn't make any common sense. Yeah, I don't think it, to me, it didn't make any sense at all. If I want to shoot and milk myself, I'm not going to care it's against the law. No, I agree with that. If you want to take your own life, you don't care if it's against the law to do so. I agree with that. However, that doesn't mean I should just sell you the item you're going to use to do it. If you want to take your own life and you can use a knife or a bomb or a different method, that is true. But by damn it, then go do that. I'm not going to hand you this pistol. If you can find another way to do it, that's out of my control. But I'm not going to hand you what you originally planned to do it with. That's the difference. I can't believe you guys even asked that. No, she's right. JFK is a Republican, or RFK is a Republican in the Democratic clothing. Yeah, that's a great point, Mr. Chuck. You often hear folks on the right talk about rhinos, Republicans in name only. RFK is the perfect example of that. We don't generally call Democrats in name, or we don't use terms like that. But if we did, RFK, Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia would be one. Kristen Sinema proved that she was one by leaving the whole damn party. Kristen Sinema would have been another one. But yeah, RFK would certainly qualify for the Democratic version of a rhino. I agree with that 100%. So if Biden does not make it to the election, what happens? Well, if Biden doesn't make it right now, it would be Kamala Harris. But I think that if something happened with Biden, the most likely to step up would probably be Gavin Newsom from California. It's clear he wants the job. It is obvious he wants the job. And I think he would get a hell of a lot of Democratic support, maybe even more than Biden. But to some degree, when you got these old farts like the Bidens and the Mitch McConnells and Donald Trump, a lot of them are so power hungry, they refuse to step down and do what would likely be in the best interest of the people that support them. I mean, I think if Biden stepped aside and let somebody like Gavin Newsom, who has probably better poll numbers than Biden, just like Mitch McConnell. I mean, if I see myself on TV looking like that, I'll step down. I mean, listen, how long has Mitch McConnell been the senator? It's not like he needs any money he has a long established history of accomplishments for the Republican Party, including stopping Trump from being impeached, making sure Obama could not appoint his Supreme Court pick, making sure Trump could give the folks on the right a 6-3 majority. Mitch McConnell has a long list of accomplishments. This is the time for him to bow out. I mean, you see yourself on TV looking like that. Mitch McConnell certainly should step out. Looking at war is coming. Between who? Sizemore. War is coming between who? Let me keep it moving, though. We'll keep it going with fucking... What did that say? Fucking Sparkle Pony? Good afternoon. Welcome back. The one and only. So what do you think?
Motherfucker one and only. What's up?
Not much at all. How is the man getting more support with each indictment?
I just think that
So you think, wait, so you think that Trump is not getting more support? You think Biden is losing support?
I don't think by demographic he is increasing his percentage significantly in any area. I think it's decreased in on the other side that is happening at a more significant rate. I think the other side is losing support.
So you believe that? Let me make sure I get it clear. So you believe that Biden is losing support at a more significant rate?
Yes, I would say that the loss of support for Biden is definitely at a more significant rate than the increase in support for Trump. I think that part of the reason for that again too is that there's how do I say this without getting there? There's just people that don't know how to support a person that they actually don't really like. Like, how do you defend it? And I know a lot of Democrats don't really like it. Couldn't they listen to the Republicans? I mean, I've had a ton of Republicans come on here to say they don't like Trump as a person, but they like his policies. I fucking hate him. I don't like him at all. I think he's a fucking dumbass. But hey man, Bert's Ernie, here we go, round two. It's just gonna happen. But I'd rather have someone that lives on planet Earth. I'm sorry, I can't deal with this Biden thing anymore because he just does not live on planet Earth, and I feel bad for him almost. And what I meant by Democrats don't like him is that they find no way to. They don't have a way to defend him because they don't actually really like him as the president. They just hate Trump for the most part. A lot of people.
I believe that.
And I think if they had their real candidate, they would have a whole lot more support for it. There'd be a whole lot more. There'd be a bigger vehicle behind it. Well,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be elected. You know what I'm saying?
So how do you feel about folks suggesting that Trump, through perhaps the 14th Amendment or the law, may not be on the ballot in all 50 states?
Well, first of all, that's never going to happen. The electoral college has to certify candidates before the election starts, and all 50 states have to certify that with the electoral college. So we wouldn't have an election if that happened. Which I'm not saying that we might not. I mean, whatever. But I don't think that would ever happen. I think that all 50 states have certified candidates for both sides, and a lot of that has to do with election campaign financing and how all that works because they have to in the books, if you will, before the election.
So you're saying that for a state to remove Trump from the ballot, it has to be approved by all 50 states?
No. I'm saying in order for the election to move forward with the electoral college, all 50 states have to certify. Now, if one state doesn't, then you won't have an election. Like, you just won't, because you wouldn't have an electoral college election.
I don't see how you. What does the electoral college have to do with removing Trump's name from the ballot? I mean, you're allowing all the other Republicans to run.
I'm not saying the electoral college is removing him. I'm saying if one state doesn't want to certify it, then the electoral college wouldn't exist. The whole entire electoral college is now broken. You wouldn't have an election because there wouldn't be a complete electoral college. There would be one state.
Why would a state choose not to certify the votes?
Now that is a good question. I don't think it's going to happen. I honestly, the delegates of each state are going to certify. It's just you will never find an instance, in my opinion, where they're just not going to certify two candidates to run. First of all, there's a whole lot of money that goes into this, and I don't think a whole lot of people are enjoying not making money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're not going to end the election cycle by saying, fuck the election, I don't feel like making money. Yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of things that go into play here. But
So at the end.
I just personally don't believe it would ever happen.
So at the end of the day, by the way, folks, see if you guys can take your boy up over 100,000. We're pretty damn close.
I always hear this Article 3, 14th Amendment, and the problem is that Article 3, 14th Amendment, like, you can introduce
don't know. I don't know if I've heard it the way you're saying. Because the idea that no state could take Trump off the ballot without folks refusing to certify the electoral college votes. I don't know if I've heard it that way.
Yeah, the electoral college has to be certified. It actually done by delegates. Delegates. So, believe it or not, the delegates certify who your candidates are in each state. And all 50 states have to certify it before we have election.
Okay.
Every fucking time that has happened.
So at the end of the day, do you think any of the whopping 91 charges, you think he'll beat all of those?
I would say that the only one that is like kind of a little bit weird one is Florida. But I think Georgia, Democrats fucked up Georgia real bad. I think that's dumb. I think he's gonna get off on Georgia really quickly. Because RICO, you have to prove intent to create a criminal organization. And proving intent is going to be extremely difficult for them right now. Based on, basically him saying, can I do this, can I do that on a photo? Like, I mean, it's the intent part of it. You're going to have to, basically prove that he said, do this, do that. Make sure you do this. I don't care if it's law. Like, you have to prove an intent of him to create.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, you heard that totally different than I've heard it. To me, the find me 11,000 votes, I do have to question, if you thought it was fraud in this state, why wouldn't you be asking them to redo the state altogether? Why are you telling them what?
I personally don't necessarily disagree with you, but I'm saying right now he's gonna have to prove that he meant that I want you to go fraud 11.
Well, but think about it. If you're on TV day in and day out, hold on, hold on a second, hold on. If you're on TV day in and day out saying that there is fraud in the state of Georgia and this election is not being ran properly, and then you're on the phone saying just find me 11,000 votes, you're making it clear you don't give a damn if there is fraud in this state, as long as they can find you enough votes to win.
Yeah, again, like I said though, there's a difference between you thinking you can connect the dots and there being evidence of it being clear cut. Remember, in a criminal case, is beyond a reasonable doubt. So if there's any reasonable doubt, any whatsoever, then it's not true. So,
Well,
I mean, you're going to have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that there was intent to create a criminal conspiracy.
Well, I don't know. We'll see what all they present, but the case I just made to you right now, where it does appear that Trump would have been totally fine with winning the electoral college votes from a state after admitting fraud took place in that state. That seems apparent because you're on TV all day long saying that this state is full of fraud, and now you're on the phone saying find me 11,000 votes. So in other words, if you can find me 11,000 votes so that I can win your state, I don't care about all the fraud is there. I think that's pretty obvious.
And again, no, let me say this one more time. I'm not saying necessarily wrong. I'm just saying from a legal standpoint.
Okay.
And how they're going to have to prove it, it is going to be a difficult task.
Yeah.
Prove it beyond a reasonable doubt.
But does that?
That's where I think they messed up.
Okay, we can debate the legal standpoint, but in terms of credibility, when you have Trump saying the election was,
Man, I wish it wasn't Bert Bergeron.
you wish.
We had two human beings. I wish it wasn't Bert Bergeron. I don't even like him. I think he's fucking the most egotistical little shit that I've ever met in my life. And I wish that we didn't have Bert Bergeron going again. I wish we had, two real citizen, I wish that we had two, people that were people that were educated at least enough to know government, that were normal, that weren't these people that are obviously taking over society through media, through business, through this, through that, and doing it in every corner of the country. Like, I wish that we just had some dude that, was very smart and
Well, let me ask you, with Biden's poll numbers being poor, even on the Democratic side, there's not a lot of support for Biden. Why are the Republicans running Trump? Why not pick a guy that is not meeting the description that you get?
Republicans are
Trump. I think Trump's running the Republicans. I don't think the Republicans actually want him there, but you know what? He is a household name, and people here in the United States that really like him, hey, they're not going anywhere, man.
Could that be a mistake? Could that be a mistake?
It could be, but I'll tell you this: I don't think that there's any other candidate in the Republican Party right now that'd be any better. I mean, who the fuck else we gonna put in?
I disagree with you. I think you could get at least 80 to 90%. Let me finish. I think out of the folks that are on that stage, I think most of those folks, from Tim Scott to Nikki Haley, hell, even Chris Christie, would give you at least 70. Hold on, hang on. I think they would give you at least 70 to 80% of the policies you favor from Trump. Every one of them guys on that stage, if they got elected, most of the shit you like from Trump, you would get at least 70 to 80% of it without all the baggage, without them being damn near 80 years old, and they could run a second term.
But do they have a reasonable chance to win?
What?
No, they don't have a reasonable chance to win.
Because you guys are so focused on Trump.
Hey, first of all, don't fucking clump me into that, all right? Don't take it that, all right? I feel very pressed right now, and I feel very sorry. Bullshit.
All right, I gotta move it on, Sparkle. Appreciate you coming in.
I'll talk to you later.
All right, good talk. Yeah, and I truly believe that even from a guy on the left, I've said that with Biden's poll numbers being so low, that this is the time. This is the time for the Republican Party to put up a more moderate candidate and potentially beat Biden, with the economy and things like that being blamed on Biden. Whether you agree or disagree or want to suggest that it's Biden's fault or not, it's happening. And you could have a moderate Republican come up there and have a decent chance of winning, but instead, they're promoting a candidate that is equally, if not more, toxic than Biden. My opinion, out of the folks being presented, just being an outsider looking in, I think Trump is probably, as Nikki Haley said, the least favorite candidate out of all of them. Nikki Haley said that. So this would be the time to put up somebody that would have a chance to win, and they could run in 2028 again, where Trump cannot. They're not dealing with 90-something charges that they got to say they're innocent of. These are the Tim Scott and these folks. None of them folks are dealing with all that. We know Vivek Ramaswamy is trying to be a Trump clone. Why not promote him to the top? Not the VP role, to the top. So I really see where Trump supporters, in regards to Trump, have tunnel vision on Trump only. I think they favorite the way Trump was leading the country to the point where they don't think nobody else can even do it. So they're going to go with Trump. Why do we want a moderate Republican when conservatives want a conservative? You can get a conservative that's moderate as well. In other words, a conservative that stands for traditional American values like the founding fathers intended, but they don't think every liberal is a fucking idiot. That they're willing to at least talk to liberals and listen to their issues. You can get a moderate conservative. That's what a moderate is somebody that's willing to at least listen to the other side and not go around saying things like get on the Trump train or get ran over. There's a way to do it. The fact that I can come here and talk to dozens, if not hundreds of MAGA all day, every day and admit I'm a liberal shows that it can be done. You can have civilized dialogue with the other side without people feeling like you're talking down to them and treating them like shit. It can happen. You just have to, it's something you have to want to do. If you don't want to do it, no, you're right. It won't ever be to be done. Looking in the comments, most conservatives do listen to the other side. We just don't think liberals know their talking points very well. You don't listen to the other. When it comes to LGBT community or abortion or common sense gun laws or climate change, you're not listening to the other side. You're telling them it's all a bunch of hogwash. You're not listening to the other side. There's no meeting in the middle on any of this stuff. I mean, they're passing laws when it comes to abortion that a woman can't even have an abortion if she's raped. There's no meeting in the middle. That's not listening to the other side. That's my way or the highway. Same thing with the Second Amendment. Shall not be infringed. That's not meeting in the middle. That's my way or the highway. All of this stuff is. So, no, that's not moderate. Now, we have had moderate conservatives in there. You just don't like them. Like right now, you're giving me stats. 0.5% of abortions are rapes and incest. That's true. But that's not meeting in the middle. That's following along the signs of everything that the liberals want is hogwash. You're not meeting in the middle. So, and all I just want to say is continue along that path and hope that you're in charge. Because if you end up losing to a liberal and they have the same mindset, you're going to hate it. You're going to hate it because the transgender community, for instance, is not meeting in the middle. And see how you like that. They're not meeting in the middle either. Looking in the comments here. Do not compromise the gospel. I don't know what that means, but I don't think it includes the mindset or opinions of atheists, Muslims, Jehovah's Witnesses, or anybody that's not Christian. I'm not a fan of it. A lot of Republicans I know only have what aboutism when you mention Trump. Counting of crows, yeah. It's a lot of that, but it happens on the left side as well. It happens on the left. What aboutism is quite prevalent in modern day politics, and that's coming from both sides of the aisle. It's not just the liberals. I don't care about the trans community. Most LGBT are rather agreeable and hate what's being pushed. I don't agree with that at all. You think that most LGBT members are a fan of banning pride parades and shutting down Target for selling you think most members of the LGBT community think that's a good idea? Shooting beer cans because a transgender person on the can? You really believe most members of the LGBT community think that that's the right thing to do? Or do you not care? I mean, just be honest with yourself. People want to ban books but believe in the Bible written by multiple people. Mama Kim, I refer to that comment as a home run. I agree with that 100%. Let's go, Dark Brandon. Speaking of Dark Brandon, I happened to get my hands on this handy dandy cup the other day. Very similar to the Trump NFT cards. It has the laser beams for the eyes for you folks on YouTube. Has a laser beams for the eyes. This is a Dark Brandon 2024 cup. Shout out to the Biden administration for taking Brandon and actually branding it to make money off of it, because obviously we know what Let's Go Brandon was meant to designate. Basically fuck Joe Biden. It was not a compliment. So shout out to any campaign that knows how to use an insult to make money off of it. Here's another one, the liberal in me. This is another older one since I'm showing you these things. Here you have Barack Obama. The front says made in the USA. Now you know where we're going with that. You guys on YouTube, front says made in the USA. Now this was out during the time when Trump and Sheriff Joe Arpaio was saying the guy was born in a different country. So you know what's on the back of it? Voila. That is his actual certificate of live birth. This is for folks who say he didn't give you the long form. That is the long form birth certificate. It's got everything on it. His name, weight, all of that shit. That is even the signatures from his parents. Certificate, I don't know if you can see it on YouTube as well, but that is his certificate of live birth right on the back of the cup. So shout out to, I see D. Bender said it's a fraudulent document. Well, if you believe this is a fraudulent document, where's your proof? Show proof. This is what we're talking about, folks. You can't just make allegations. Show proof. That's why the Dominion voting machines people are making a killing right now, and why the Ruby Freeman is about to get paid. You can't just make these accusations. Show, where is the proof that this is a fraudulent birth certificate? Show proof of it. And until you do, he's even got the actual number on there. Wow, there's a lot of shit on this thing, if you can see it or not on there. Oh man, I mean, it really says everything. His mom name and all that shit on there. That's his actual birth certificate. I don't remember how much I paid for this cup several years ago, but it was yeah, that was an interesting one. He made money off of that. I downloaded the birth certificate and peeled the 7 layers. Here's another thing I would say also in regards to Obama's birth certificate. How many other presidents did we scrutinize the hell out of their birth certificates like that? I mean, seriously. I mean, you know, where the presidential candidate handed in their birth certificate, and then we went over it with a fine-tooth comb and said it wasn't valid. They gave us another copy. We said that wasn't valid. How many other presidents have we done that to? I mean, because they all have to hand in their birth certificates, right? How many of the rest of them did we say that they were born somewhere else? Because I don't know. And I see in the comments somebody says only the black one. You know, and by the way, I'm a big Bill O'Reilly fan. I remember watching him on YouTube, because he's on YouTube now. He left Fox in 2017, but he still covers politics. He still broadcasts every day. And according to him, I remember him covering the story. They were trying to do that, and it was coming from the Trump campaign. In 2020, when he was running against Biden, they were trying to do that same birther movement against Kamala Harris, because you know she also has ancestry from, what is it, India or wherever the hell it is. And they were already starting to do the suggestion that Kamala was not born in the United States, because she originally was running for president. And I remember seeing Bill O'Reilly on his program say that he's a friend of Trump's, been a friend of Trump's for 30 years, and that he told Trump personally that is not going to work and it's a bad idea to do that. But they were going to start doing that against Kamala Harris, trying to say that she was not born in America. They were about to do it again. So just wanted, I mean, it did get some traction with Obama. You know, you still got Sheriff Joe Arpaio out there saying that he can prove that the guy was born somewhere else or whatever. Anyway, which administration spied on private citizens running for president? Shit, how far back you want to go? I mean, my guess is both. I mean, we know Hoover with the FBI was doing it to Martin Luther King. It's probably happened under both administrations. I mean, the further back you go, I would assume any black guy, from the Sharptons to the Jacksons, Jesse Jacksons, that both of them ran for president. I guarantee you that they got spied on. So it probably has happened from both administrations. Presidents must be natural born citizens. 100% agree. But like I stated before, how many other presidents did we tear apart their birth certificates and continue suggesting they weren't born here? I never heard of that until Obama came along. And being African-American blood running in my views, I'm saying Obama is a ruse and what he did. If you don't agree with Obama's policies, that's fine. But the suggestion that he was not born in America sounds like that was a fraudulent issue from the get-go. And it says they love conspiracies. Yeah, that's a conspiracy so terribly bad, suggesting that Obama was not born in America. That really is one. Arpaio, the Sheriff Arpaio, who once again, Danny, you're right. Sheriff Joe Arpaio also was pardoned by President Trump for essentially being racist, stopping and ordering his deputies to stop and frisk brown people and demand they show proof they had a right to be in America. Now, obviously, there's a huge issue with illegal immigration down in the area where Sheriff Joe Arpaio is down there in Arizona. But even if you have a huge illegal immigration problem, you can't just stop and frisk people and demand they have paperwork to prove they're here in this country when there's a hell of a lot of naturally born Americans of Hispanic descent in the area. Because you or I don't carry proof of citizenship with me when I'm out on the road driving, do you? You carry your birth certificate around with you when you're out driving? Somebody stop me and demand I prove that I have a right to be in America? I don't have proof of that. I can't prove that I'm rightfully, born in America. I would not be able to prove that. So having his deputies stop brown folks and make them prove they're in the country is obviously a clear violation of, I believe, the Fourth Amendment, searches and seizures. You can't just stop somebody just because they're brown and make them prove they're in the country. And he was not only charged for doing that, he was convicted and about to be sentenced, and Trump pardoned him. That's racist. What Sheriff Joe Arpaio was doing is, because you're only doing it to brown people. You're not going to stop somebody that looks like, Joe Biden, for instance. Even if Joe Biden is walking around, don't even know where he's at, or Mitch McConnell's out there freezing up, he wouldn't make one of them show that they were born in this country. He's doing it to brown people. That's racist. And Trump pardoned that guy for doing that. Looking in the comments real quick. I can't wait for all this wealth we've created by importing 1/3 of our population from South America. Shit, they imported my family from somewhere. I don't know. Listen, I've said this before. I know it can be controversial, but I've said this several times. Once the Native Americans were defeated and the founding fathers had taken over this country, you could have kept the country as white and Christian as you wanted. But there were people in this country that did not want to do their own damn labor. So first they came and got folks that looked like me to exploit them for free labor. And then they went and started, after we got free, it became Hispanics, or they're over in the Philippines now with call centers, and they're working with the Chinese. In every single case, it was either about getting free labor or getting cheap labor at the expense of the foundation of this country. In every single case. If these people had just not been lazy and did their own damn labor and did not decide to exploit people, you could have had the country the way you wanted it. As opposed to now where you're bitching and complaining about everybody trying to change the country and everybody don't love America and everybody ain't Christian and everybody promoting these different values. Once you defeated the Native Americans, you could have shut the country off and kept it the way you wanted. But you had to keep exploiting people because you didn't want to do your own labor. You were too lazy to do your own labor. So now you got all these other folks here. This is what your ancestors did, and you're constantly bitching about it. If you want to bitch about it, blame them. They're the ones that brought all these people here. They didn't have to be here. They could have did their own work and it would have been fine. And if folks are saying karma, yeah, they could have did their own work. You don't need somebody in your crib, whether they're picking crops out of your yard or they're in the house breastfeeding and nursing your damn kids or changing your bed. You didn't need that. Could have done your own damn labor and kept the country the way you wanted. Trying to live like kings. Blame those people. Next time you want to complain about how the country has changed, blame those people, because that did not have to happen. Everybody else does their own labor, does their own work. You want to talk about somebody being lazy and refusing to work, there you go. Get off the damn horse, put down the whip, and pick your own shit. And you don't have to worry about these people changing the country and shit. No, you want to ride around on horseback and force these other people to do your work. Well, this is what you got. Looking in the comments, the rich and entitled, some do their own labor and work. Yeah, but it wasn't enough of them. And it wasn't enough of the other ones complain, because remember, the minorities in this country did not have a say-so in how the country was ran at all. So when you're seeing people exploiting others to do their own labor and bringing over all these foreigners, that was the time to step up and say, no, you cannot do that. You were changing the country from how the founding fathers intended it to be. That was the time that should have happened. Not now. It's too late now. But you had defeated the Native Americans. You had the entire whole of the United States. All you had to do, because you certainly weren't bringing all these other people over to promote diversity. You're bringing them over to exploit them, to make life more cushy for the ones who were doing the exploitation. They were doing it out of self-greed. And as a result, you now have the country you have today because of them trying to look out for their own selves and their own best interests. Those are the people you should be blaming for the America you complain about today, because they're the ones that made it happen. Anyhow, folks, it is your boy. You know, as always, I appreciate you rolling with me. 107,000 likes. And in regards to in the comments, 832 says it's the world, dude. We're not talking about the world right now. We're talking about Americans bitching about this country has been fundamentally changed from how the founding fathers intended. That's not a complaint being launched around the world. That is something you often hear here in this nation. Is folks complaining that this country is not the way the founding fathers intended. Got a hell of a lot of people in the country that don't like America. You hear that all the time. I'm talking about holding the people accountable who made that happen. Bringing up slavery in Egypt doesn't take away from that argument. That's just a diversion or a whataboutism. You know, what about they got something over in Saudi Arabia? That doesn't take away from what is being complained about here. Is that the country has been fundamentally changed by a bunch of folks who were brought here so somebody else could sit and live high on the hog. Bringing up Egypt and Saudi Arabia and slavery in other countries don't take that away. If you want to neutralize the argument, I'm fine with that. But it doesn't take away from the fact that once the Native Americans were defeated, this could have been a white, Christian value-based country and kept the way a lot of folks wanted it to be kept. Doesn't take any of that away by bringing up Egypt and all these other countries. Anyhow, appreciate you folks rolling with your boy. Catch you on the next live broadcast. YouTubers, always a pleasure having you folks on. And definitely, looking in the comments, what did you say? And we didn't have 100 million Mexicans for 100 years after slavery. I don't know what that means, but what you're meaning by that. Black people weren't addicted to welfare in 1960. No, white people were addicted to black people in 1960. Even in 1960, you're looking at a hell of a lot, because this is before the Civil Rights Act. In 1960, you're looking at a hell of a lot of black folks that are being exploited. Blacks in America in 1960 did not have equal entitlement to career positions that whites had. So even as late as 1960, groups of people in this country were still being marginalized and exploited. Just simply saying, you could have had the country the way you wanted it if you weren't trying to exploit everything. Now, looking at, you said they came to exploit the benefits and Democrats held the door open for the votes. No, they didn't. No, that doesn't. You can't come to exploit benefits. You're being let in by people. Now, if you want to say it's white Democrats versus white Republicans, we can have that argument. I don't, listen, when it comes to whether it's slavery or exploitation of Hispanics for cheap labor, if you want to say it was done by the Democrats as opposed to the Republicans, I don't give a damn. We can go with that. But there was not enough Republicans trying to fight it. So it was allowed to take place. So blaming it on the Democrats only ain't making no way at all, because you don't look back during the era of the Jim Crow era and see, well, hell, the Republicans were constantly doing it. They were enjoying it too. Everybody was enjoying the exploitation. White people did 90% of the labor. They should have did 100% though. How could you take over the country? It's 100% owned by white people. Why are you only doing 90% of the labor? 10% is a lot. I mean, like currently right now, 350 million people in this country. 10%? That's a lot of people. Why are these people doing labor if you have 100% of the control? Why are you only doing 90% of the work? Why is 10% of the people doing work and they have no power at all? That's what I'm talking about. You're trying to you're basically making excuses for the fact that 10% of the people shouldn't be doing that labor. How can you do 100% of the labor without 100% of the population? That's the point. The reason you don't have 100% of the population is because you brought in those people to do the labor. That's why you don't have 100. Remember, the Native Americans were pushed off from reservations. They weren't in the way. Once the Native Americans were shoved out of the way and put on reservations, Alabama should be done by 100% white people. Mississippi, the labor should be 100%. Why is 10% of the labor being done by somebody else? You're not holding the people accountable. You're kind of making excuses for bad behavior. But I'm willing to ride with you. I'm willing to ride with you. Nobody was enjoying the black labor except for slave owners. Then that's somebody enjoying the black labor. And you got to assume with the money the slave owners are making, they were using some of that money in the economy. So there are more people that are enjoying it. So I don't think you're wording that right. Anyhow, folks, I do appreciate you tuning in. See you in the next video.